Wi-Fi is not working. Can you hear me? Okay, so I am live. Been having some technical difficulties here with my Vodafone connection. So I apologize for the delay in going live today. My name is Ivy Prosper, and today we are talking about, is Ghana too hard for the diaspora? Is Ghana too hard for the diaspora? We're also going to talk about, is Ghana too expensive for the diaspora to move to Ghana? Today, I'm going to be speaking with two guests today, speaking with a YouTube audience that is really, really passionate about hearing stories from Ghana. He shares a lot of information, interviews with the diaspora community. He's also a producer of documentary projects. And I also have Vanessa Jain, who is an award-winning media personality and a philanthropist. Appreciate them for taking the time to be here today. For those of you who are joining, please do let us know where you are watching from in the comments so that we know that you're here and we know where in the world you are and why you want to be here with us today talking about this hot topic. It's been trend Instagram, on Facebook. I've been seeing videos, and then there's the tweets, all of that stuff that people are talking about when it comes to Ghana. Now, first of all, some of you, if this is your first time here, again, my name is Ivy Prosper. This is your guide on Ghana, and I often talk about, I have been doing work the last few years promoting Ghana to the world. And one of the things that I've noticed is that there are people from the diaspora community who have made the choice to move to Ghana and or invest in Ghana, visit Ghana. And it's been a really exciting time as I've met people for me or because of other content creators that they've been watching talking about Ghana. Thank you so much for those of you who have joined. One of my regulars I have here, Kwame, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you for joining today. I have my two guests who are here, an introduction to share with us who they are, what they do, and why I decided to bring them in the conversation today. So I have Hayford from Web Nation Africa. I also have Vanessa Jain, who is an award-winning media personality and philanthropist. So I will get both of them to introduce themselves. Wow.
Hello?
I think we have a bit of a delay. Did you hear me, Hayford?
No, not a thing.
Did you hear me, Hayford? I said introduce yourself. I think we have a bit of a delay today, but please introduce yourself.
All right, all right, all right. Once again, thank you so much for inviting me once again onto your YouTube channel, live to interact with your audience and address this important topic. My name is Hayford. If you guys are watching for the first time and don't know who I am, I'm a content creator, a cinematographer, and I do documentaries. I interview diaspora who moved back from the diaspora, who are currently living here. We speak to them about their challenges, their reasons for moving to their continent, and I'm very passionate about this to create awareness and spread the word, change the narrative to our brothers and sisters, in the diaspora. So yeah, that's a little bit about what I do, and I'm happy to be here.
Great, great. Thank you so much. Now, Vanessa, if you can introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Ivy, for having me. My name is Vanessa Jan. I am an award-winning media personality and a philanthropist. I run an NGO called the Sincerely V Foundation, which focuses on maternal health awareness in Ghana, providing support for low-income families, paying their discharge bills, creating care packages, throwing baby showers for them. And I'm also a producer. I produced the biggest production is Modern Day Moms of Accra, which is the first ever reality show centered around mothers living in Accra. And I moved back to Ghana, or I relocated to Ghana, I should say. August will be 10 years that I've been here from the Big Apple.
Wow, you've been 10 years in Ghana. That is really, really good. You've done the long game. I came in 2011. I stayed for a couple of years, but then I left and then came back in 2016. So I did 2011, 12, 13. Then I left and came back in 2016. So I've been here since 2016. But you've done it consistently. So that is commendable, because a lot of people come and they leave. And, people fantasize about the story of coming to Ghana or coming to Africa in general. And one of the things that people don't think about is the long game and what their purpose is, as far as why they stay or why they pack up and leave so quickly. I want to mention your tweet that you had. It kind of inspired me to want to do this live today. Your tweet, as well as the video from Web Nation Africa that had been trending this week as well. So, for those who don't know, Vanessa tweeted earlier. Was it today or yesterday? I'm trying to remember now. But she tweeted about what's happening in Ghana with people leaving. She's like, why are the diaspora people leaving? Oh, I'm getting a call. Oh, I think Hayford's line has dropped and now he's calling me on WhatsApp. I don't know what's happening. Let me get the tweet to show you the tweet. Thank you, everybody who's joined today. My apologies. I've been having some technical issues today. My internet is slow, and this is fiber internet from Vodafone. And for whatever reason, it is going pretty slow. Okay. The tweet popped up and then it disappeared. That's the second one. I'm trying to find the first one that you had done that really got the conversation going.
Oh, I didn't even realize so many views. Oh, I'm now seeing.
Let's see if I find it here.
Oh.
Yeah, you had a lot of people. You had a lot of engagement on this tweet, and so this one, you talk about to pick up your entire life and relocate anywhere is a big learning experience, but leaving your comfort zone comes with so much growth if you open yourself up to it. I'm proud of everything I've built so far, but it wasn't overnight. I know as years pass and things might not be going your way, you easily give up. And that is what happens with a lot of people, is the easily giving up. But I'm trying to find the first tweet, because I know I had it here. When you first tweeted.
Yeah.
Because it was a whole thread. There it is. This was the beginning. So many diaspora babies are leaving Ghana. They literally packing up. Oh, where did it go? They're literally packing up, is basically what you said. And it is quite worrying. There it is. So many diaspora babies leaving Ghana. They're literally packing up and not looking back. And we see the comments there, Amiao saying why. And then you responded, what is the country truly offering besides stress? And it's one of those things that we have so much conversation about online. About, I see like Ghanaians and diaspora, I'll see when we go out and people are having coffee and drinks or whatever and discussing the challenges. Why do you think it is, Vanessa, that we're seeing people pack up and leave after a few years?
Honestly, I think people, when they relocate, their mind is that they're coming, they're relocating, and there won't be any struggles. they won't have a tough time. Everything is going to be handed to them. You know, like they can put in minimal work because they're from the diaspora and gain more from it. But you come and you realize that it is the complete opposite. You have to put in the work just as much as you would put in the work if you were in the States or if you were in the UK. You still have to put in the work in whatever it is you're coming here to build. And I think there's a, I don't want to say like a lazy mindset, but there's kind of like a lazy mindset, like everything's just going to be easy, like everything is just going to be handed to me. And then reality sets in, that it's not going to be easy. And I also think there are lonely moments. I know that. I've been here for 10 years and I have family here. I'm now raising my son here, but there are lonely moments. I grew up in New York City. My best friends are in New York. My mom is still in New York. My hustle and bustle life was New York. And so I've had those lonely moments where I'm like, okay, I'm really alone here. But I had to decide in those lonely moments, am I that lonely that I'm going to pick up everything that I'm building and leave? Or am I going to just hustle it out and figure things out each day at a time?
Yeah, I totally hear you on that, because I think that a lot of people, when they come, because especially for me, because I work with Ghana tourism and work with Year of Return, Beyond the Return campaigns, it is so easy to see how people have been really excited about coming to Ghana, to see that the whole idea of coming back to Africa, and the fantasizing about it being perfect is something that happens too. So I think that what needs to happen is that people need to have the realistic expectations, because it is going to be great when you come, but you have to also know that there's work involved in coming too. It's not going to be a simple transition, because not only are you moving to another country, but you're also adjusting to another culture. And I find that those of us who are Ghanaian, who lived abroad and then come back, we have the advantage of having, maybe your parents, the Ghanaian community you were around when you were abroad, understand what it's like kind of living in two worlds. So when you come back, you have a little bit of an advantage, because you see things and you're like, oh, that's why my parents were doing that. Oh, that's why my parents did that. You kind of get it a little bit. But when you have absolutely no connection, you're a person who's from the diaspora, where you've been displaced because of the transatlantic slave trade, you don't have any connection. It makes it really hard when you come, because all you know is America, or all you know is Canada, all you know is the Caribbean. And then it's like you come, or South America, and you come, and it's like this whole new experience, and you're trying to adjust to it. And you realize how much you are an American when you come to Africa, because there's so much about America or Canada or the UK or wherever it is you came from that is in you, because that's the life you've lived. So now you're somewhere new and you're trying to adjust to a new culture. It makes it really, really challenging. And the frustration of it makes it easy to say, let me just pack my bags and go. I think that's what happens with a lot of people. What do you think, Hayford, about why you think people go? You yourself, you've lived in China, and then you chose to come back to Ghana. So you come, because you saw a system that was working, high-speed trains in China. You come to Ghana, it's like the trotro still, and a train that works 1 week and then it's broken. Then they make an announcement, the trains are working again. Then it's broken again, and then it's working again. So what's your experience and what's your take as to?
Yeah. This is very interesting. I think that we diasporans, or some of them back, kind of want to, enter the country and feel like everything is set up for them. There's infrastructure, but if you actually understand wealth creation, okay, wealth created and understanding how, you can build a society, all these things wouldn't be a problem, right? They don't understand that. They expect things like that to happen before they come. So often it's very kind of confusing and frustrating for them. Example, you want to build a city as an individual, without having a real estate experience or whatever. You first have to set up a whole, washroom on the land that wherever you're building, if that's the only place you stay. All these things you have to build it by yourself. You understand? Other communities understand this. Other, ethnicity understand that. They are used to this system, but we are not. I think how we are learning our wealth creation, we only want to just go into finished business. There's company, okay, they are done, they are hiring. Okay, I want to jump onto that. We don't want to create the company. We don't want to solve the problems. And that's why sometimes we get frustrated. I've lived in a very advanced society like China where my internet is really fast that if you're even in space, I can do a video call with you and it would not even buffer. Okay, but then one challenge that I had 2017 because I tried to develop something here with the internet and YouTubers and stuff like that, which technically was not reasonable, right? Because the internet that I was consuming was ridiculous. Okay, I was using terabytes of GBs of data, which technically I can't establish that. Where we have to, bring best internet companies to, a few things on ground before I can make the move, right? Someone will get frustrated. I got frustrated. I had to leave to Dubai to use internet. Okay, I'm saying this for the first time. It's expensive. Don't think about it. I had to go and use Dubai as a proxy in order to do whatever I want to do whilst working on the continent. So a few things like that. I developed a strategy on how to, come back. But people will just give up permanently and just leave, without having to understand that this is part of the process. There are moments where you have to, go through this, hard time. Your internet will go off. You would be frustrated. Yes, it's part of it. You understand? It's part of it. You have to feel it. Understand that every problem, every pinch that you have is money. It's an opportunity tapping you like, hey, I need to be solved. Okay. You can make money by solving me. But we don't see like that. We think, oh man, oh Ghana, okay, my flight ticket, how much? $600. Please let me go back. And then we go back and then leave the room for Chinese to come invest to solve the problems, Lebanese. And then later we just cry that there's no opportunity here in Ghana. But we we do all those things by ourselves. Those problems are caused by us. We don't understand how to solve problems to make money. That's the problem.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the challenges also, is some of the government policies that may not be coming together as smoothly as we would like, and the challenges of being a developing nation where there's a lot of debt and all those that we're used to in other places. Let me see one of the comments here. We have Kwame Osei in the comments who's talking about, he says, leaving because of 100% inflation, 35% interest rates, 15 city leader gas, high internet charges, water, electricity, high international school fees that Kwame is saying causes people to leave Ghana. And I mean, even Ghanaians, his next comment, he says that even Ghanaians who are living here, born in Ghana, want to leave, according to the Migration Watch report of 2021. He's right. 70% of Ghanaians would leave if they had the chance. So some people in diaspora say, well, if Ghanaians are leaving, then I mean, why aren't they going to leave? At the same time, we are trying to make the system work. Those of us who do stay, we're trying to build something. I'd love to hear from you, Vanessa, as to how you were able to build something, because it's one of those things that people they come and they have dreams and then they leave before the dream is realized, not realizing that if they would just stick it out a little bit longer, that it would actually happen. So what are some of the things you did that you think made you be able to build?
So, when I relocated almost 10 years ago, I straight away started working in the media space. I worked in the media space for a few years, started off at ETV, moved on to another media house, and then I got laid off. And honestly, if it was other people, once you get laid off, you're literally at that breaking point of, all right, why am I still going to be here? I can just go back to where I am, get a better paying job, because even what I was getting paid wasn't even a quarter of what I would have been getting paid if I was still in New York. But that is where I grew my strength, because when I was relocating to Ghana, way before even coming to Ghana, I always had the ultimate goal of owning my own, having my own, doing my own eventually. So when I got laid off, that was the breaking point where I said, this is the time where now I can finally venture off on my own. And I always say I have a supportive family. I thank God for that, because if you don't have the family, you don't have the tribe, it's going to be, you're just going to pack up and leave. But I had that support. And I also had the support that said, if you want to come back, you can come back. But that breaking point of when I got laid off was me saying, okay, you know what? Now I can start my own. No matter how little I'm starting, I'm going to start on my own. So, you know, I traveled out to New York for the summer after being laid off, enjoyed myself, didn't even think about the fact that I was laid off with a son that was almost 1 year old. And I came back and I said, you know what? The TV show that I had at this previous media house was my own. It was my own production. I was even doing everything. It was just that it was airing at the station, even though they were supposed to take up, you know, most of the expenses. So if I was doing it then, now is my chance to just do it on my own. And I called up a few camera people that I knew, sound, and I just got a little team and I just started building by myself, slowly but surely, building. I also feel like before Ghana, I had a lot of experience in the media space. So me going solo wasn't something that was going to be so like taboo or hard, or I knew I could do it because I had the experience before even moving to Ghana. But it was baby steps of just, okay, I'm going to start from getting a small team to make my little production house. We start shooting my show again. We get the editing. We push it out. And from there, I just continued building. And then I started, as a mom also, I started seeing, you know, things that were needed, you know, mommy necessities, baby. Like I just started just opening my eyes a little bit more. Okay, I see that this is not being brought in, but I know a lot of mummies will love it. So let me try and start bringing in some mummy and baby stuff. And that slowly but surely became successful. Eventually I opened a boutique, but that was like last year. So that it even took time because my son is going to be 6. And that like little of bringing things in started when I had him. But it's been slowly but surely, you know, I'm one of those, you know what, also, I have a big vision, Ivy, to be honest. From my days in New York, I know what I want. And wherever I am, wherever I am in the world, I'm going to make it happen, even if it's baby steps that will take me there. But like I said, there have been days that I'm just like, I need to be out of here. This is just not worth. I could be at the bank and I'm just like, what am I dealing with? Why am I dealing with this stress? And then I leave the bank and I breathe and I'm like, you know what? Let me just go home and just, you know, just breathe. But it's been baby steps for me. As much as people feel like everything has just happened for me, when I hear that, I'm like, no. There's been days where I've cried. There's been days where I've been really frustrated. And I keep saying is now that I'm making it to 10 years that I feel like things have actually come together, where I can say, wow, like everything that has happened since I relocated makes sense. Everything. Yeah. And this is 10 years. And I know that's a long time. Who wants to wait 10 years? Trust me, this 10 years actually has flown by so fast. But I also say this, the New York hustler spirit. Like I'm a New York girl. And when I want something, I'm gonna go for it. But it's been tough because I didn't use any, let's say I didn't use any contacts. I'm gonna be honest. People feel like I'm so connected. Maybe this person I haven't used my last name to do anything. I haven't used I've literally came in from the ground and just pushed myself up every single day.
That is really good. So you made some really good points there. What stuck out to me, so first of all, you talked about having moments of crying. I'll talk about that with myself. And then you talked about the connections thing. People think you've used connections and you didn't use your name. For those people who may not know, Vanessa comes from musician, and people know
Yes,
his name, and you could have thrown that around, right?
yes,
But you
yes.
didn't. You chose to make it on your own. And so when she talks about connections with Ghana, Ghana is so much about who you know. Like around the world, who you know always works. But what I find is in Ghana, if you didn't grow up here and go to school here, you do not have a network. It's like I remember coming in and people would be like, "Oh, that's my schoolmate. Oh, we went to primary school together. Oh, we went to secondary school together." And I was like, you guys care about that?" I'm like, I know I can't speak for New York, but I know that, I Buffalo, and then I've lived in Canada, and it's like nobody cares what high school you went to. Nobody cares what elementary school, middle school, junior high school you went to. They care, can you do the job? Can you get the job done? Like, what have you done before? Who have you worked with? What have you proven? What's you went to a same school together? Whereas here, you could have no skill, and a person's like, "Oh, I went to Achimota school." "Oh, you went to Achimota? Me too." "All right, then you got a hookup just because you went to the same
Yes.
school. And I see that in Ghana so much. So when you come as a person from the diaspora, whether you're American, Caribbean, a South American, and you've come to Ghana and you don't have that network, it makes it that much harder. And you have to understand that. That's why networking is so important. When I came in 2011, I remember I had wanted to do media work. So immediately, like I had made a list of all the TV stations in Ghana, and like I hired a taxi for the day, and I was going from place to place to place and just showing up. Because when I would call, nobody, "Oh no, please hold, please wait, please this." So I was like, I'm just showing up. And so that's what I did. And that's how I started meeting people, and then gotten invited to different events. And then I went to this Viasat a networking event, and just was like one thing after another. And I was meeting people. And that's how things, kind of started to connect the dots for me, was through networking. And so it's very, very key for anyone thinking of moving to Ghana from the diaspora, that you have to know that you got to hit the ground running right away and start meeting people so that you can start making your own network. And with respect to like moments of crying, I have had those moments. I remember pulling over in a car with my aunt on Spintex Road and just breaking down and crying back in 2012, because I was just like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this place." It was like, oh, you know, um, let me read some of the comments that we have here. Thank you, everybody who's here and watching. Let us know where you're watching from around the world. I appreciate you for being here. And just a reminder, if you want to support my channel, you can always hit the super chat to support. And then your comments, red flags that Kwame mentioned. Yeah, I'm still coming, not just Ghana, but Africa. Oh, you're talking about Kwame in the comments section, talking about, yeah. So you know what? Even though people hear some of the frustrations, they still want to come, because a lot of people have a purpose in mind. And I always say, and a goal and a vision, you will pack up your bags and leave. Kwame says the beauty of Ghana is that you need to know how to navigate the system and get the right people to guide and support you. And the next comment is referring to and have deceived many people that it was an easy transition. It created this utopia or fantasy for people of transatlantic slave trade. So I've heard this a lot. I mean, especially because I work with the office, and one of the things that I say is of Ghana and the positivity of Africa. At the end of the day, we have spent like our whole lives, decades of our lives, hearing the negative about Africa. Me growing up in Canada, hearing the negative about Africa, whether it's always about people being poor, people who are starving, people who are in war, people are in conflict. There was always these negative narratives being told. And so then the positive narrative of Africa, the narrative of it being a vacation destination and a hotspot. So it was built on the idea of Pan-Africanism, which Ghana has always been a Pan-African nation since the first president, Kwame Nkrumah. It's always been about connecting the dots. Important to do your due diligence and connect with people and ask the right questions. So because with Beyond the Return now, there are 7 pillars, and a lot of people don't realize that. And the 7 pillars touch on all these different areas. It's not just about coming and partying and stuff, because a lot of people think it's just about coming. And human beings naturally, I've said this before on my live streams before, human beings naturally gravitate towards this fun atmosphere and fun vibe when they go somewhere. If you're traveling, or even like with the whole celebrity culture, a lot of people are gravitate toward having meaningful stuff with it. But for instance, this past weekend, there was a free health clinic, and that was a Beyond the Return endorsed initiative. And that free health clinic was an opportunity to get free health screenings for the people in the Denta community. And of course, I posted about it. A post, then when it's a post about something that's meaningful like that. So there's so many different things to the campaign, but I understand people's, some people get disappointed when some of the challenges they face, because the challenges they face are infrastructure challenges of Ghana. First of all, for those of you who are joining, because I know some people are joining in the middle of the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. I'm here with Hayford from Web Nation Africa, cinematographer and a YouTube creator who has episodes where he talks to the diaspora community. And then I have Vanessa Jain, who is a award-winning media personality, been living in Ghana for 10 years. She's from New York, Ghanaian from New York, and she's been doing a lot of great things here and building a community. And I appreciate both of you for being here. If either of you needs to leave, I understand. I know Vanessa jumped on at the last minute request. So if you do need to go, do let me know. And then we can sign you off, connected to you with all of the things that you're doing. Next comment. Thank you so much, everybody who's commenting. Kwame says, we need to learn. We have to build Africa. It's a long, long journey. And then he continues to say, which we may not see in our life. Or one of you, if you want to comment on that, because I know Vanessa talked about it taking 10 years. Because sometimes people think 10 years is a long time. But a lot of successful people take 10 years to get that bit of success. And it looks like it's overnight, but it took 8 to 15 years, but 10 years is like the sweet spot. Because even those people on social media right now who praise Wodemaya for the stuff he's doing with promoting Africa, he's been at the game for like 8-9 years. So people have to understand it's not an overnight success. So you want to share your thoughts on the journey of building something in Ghana, because you also are you're building a media company, you're, creating content about Africa. What are your thoughts on how people should build their brand or build their business when they come to Ghana?
I just have two things, right? One is networking, and use another strategy if the networking does not go in your favor. Just be self-reliant in a way that you have your own bag. Okay, you might come here, you see there's, kind of groups. Okay, everyone has a tribe, and then you almost have to qualify to join their tribe in order to be able to, take advantage of some of the, things they have within that tribe, offering jobs and stuff like that. In the beginning, if you don't have much value to provide to these people in this kind of tribe, you might not necessarily benefit so much. Then you need to kind of create your own tribe, or even I think the digital world now makes it easy where you can find your own tribe if those community or around that's not, you can create your own tribe online. Rely on most of online and your family west abroad to create something that you have almost like a support if until like the tribe here is kind of matured to rely on. So that's going to help. I've tried that, and yeah, I didn't really so much net when I started. I rely on myself and my friends, who supported me outside till you know you qualify to join the tribe. So that's what I would encourage everybody to do. And yeah, I mean, tell your ideas to people you think shares the same energy with you. And you have to be very careful. If you tell to the wrong person, you might not go for. But tell to the right people, and you might be surprised where you would go. In a period of 5 years, I would say. No audio.
I just realized that I had my mic on mute.
Mm.
So I'll read that again. I was saying that this one is from Sunshine. Says, I think it's very easy to build a network in Ghana. People are receptive and open to new relationships. You don't have to grow up in Ghana to have a solid network. In some respects, I think she's right. For somebody who is an extrovert, it's easy to do that. But there's people who come here and they're not so good at going and meeting new people. They are not so good at navigating and networking, which makes it challenging for people like that. Because there's people who have the mindset of, you go, then go find a job and work. It is a lot about networking. So, but she's right. If you are receptive to, meeting new people, it's possible as long as you put yourself out there. That's the thing. You have to put yourself out there. Lots of comments coming through. Thank you, everything. Natural Village says, thank you for sharing about the networking. Unfortunately, many people watched Ghanaian YouTubers during a pandemic and were being told to just sell everything and come to Ghana. Wow. Did anybody say to just sell everything and come to Ghana? I know I did not. I was creating content, and I was not. Ghana is a great opportunity. And I did write a book about moving to Ghana, and in my book I do share positives and negatives about Ghana. And I think that during the pandemic and lockdown, I think people were looking for an escape. A lot of people who came, and so it's possibly what they were looking for when they came. So, so I do appreciate your comment. There were some people who felt that way, so I do appreciate you sharing that. Living Natural Village. Thank you so much. My apologies to everyone today as my Vodafone more than it normally does. So my apologies if there's any delays today. WM West Africa 1980 says, starting off, you should keep one foot in America and one foot in Africa until you're able to have both feet in Africa. What do you think about that, Vanessa, having been somebody who lived in America?
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. I think that's very true. And even when you have both feet in Africa, you should still have a pinky toe in America, or wherever else, wherever you relocated from. But I do think you should still have like a pinky toe out there, because even 10 years later, I still have my pinky toe. Well, I have more than a pinky toe still in America. Um, yeah, because I don't know, there's still that comfort. I
Mhm.
don't know, there's still that comfort, but you should definitely. I feel like even if you've relocated full time, you should still have something that you have there still. That yeah. I don't think you should just give it all up. Like I almost was that person that was like, okay, I don't need
Mhm.
anything over there. I don't need my bank accounts there. I'm doing everything here. I'm doing everything here. And I was
Mhm.
advised that people were like, no, please don't do that. Keep whatever you have there, still keep it, and continue building in Ghana. And a lot of my, well, there's limited now, but
Yeah.
even like my fiance, he moved back a year after I did, and he still has his foot in the ground in the States, even though he's a very established. He's established himself very well here in the past 9 years. He still has, that comfort, back in the States.
Yeah. There's a beauty in being able to balance both if you're able to. But I also
Yeah.
think even for those who have moved here and they've, maybe they've sold everything there and they do everything here, most people still have a little bit of something back where they came from, whether it's a bank account there. And I think that especially if you're a business person, it's important to know that there are some things that are valuable to still have when
Yeah.
you are living in the continent of Africa to have access to, because one of the things you realize when you come to Ghana or in any other African country is that Africa has strategically been blocked from a lot of things. And so sometimes you're not able to do certain things. Even count. Ghana is blocked from you getting a PayPal account.
Yeah.
So something as simple as that. If you are coming from abroad and you already had a PayPal account, don't close your PayPal account because you
Right.
can still access it when you're here. Or even sometimes with a phone number, something as simple as a phone number. I had an issue where my phone was stolen a few years back, and it was with the SIM card of my Canada phone number, which was attached to my Gmail account. And now, when I'm trying to log into Gmail somewhere, it had said that it thought that someone else was logging in and wanted to text the number on file. And I was like, oh, great. It's still that old number on file, which I no longer had, and I couldn't get in. I was getting locked out. So some basic things like
Yeah.
that you think are basic could become a really huge deal. So if you do leave, try to stay connected to some little things that will help you with accessing things, like accessing debt. And I'm not saying debt is necessarily a good thing because debt can be used good or bad. So, like starting a business, maybe you might need debt to fund starting some kind of business, and maybe you can access debt, from where you came from with less interest than from Ghana, because a
Mhm.
lot of loans in Ghana are like 29, 30% interest rates.
Mhm.
So there's a valid point being made with keeping your feet on both sides. So thank you for sharing that. Um, Web Nation Africa, I don't know if you've disappeared or if maybe it's your internet that is gone, or if you're taking a quick break, because I wanted to now talk about his video that was trending, but I'll wait till I see him. Oh, he's here. His video that was trending on social media. So I'm going to share it on the screen for those of you who may not have seen it. He had a video that he did with a diasporan who's moved to Ghana, and he shared his thoughts on African Americans not being able to afford to share that screen. And have some of you let me know your thoughts on this particular video. So it's this one right here. Okay, I'm trying to get it to press play. Present. Can you all see the screen?
Yes.
Oh, for some reason it's not playing. I tested this earlier and it was playing, and now it's not playing. Okay, I'll go back to that later. So basically in the video, the gentleman talks about 80% of African Americans can't afford to go back to Africa. This video has been trending, and I don't know if you've seen it, Vanessa, but the video has been
80% of African Americans, stop pretending, cannot afford to come to Africa.
Wow. Really?
I'm saying they cannot afford. They may want it in their heart, but America has them shoes, have them bootstrapped, tied. Because guess what? They have to pay mortgage every month. They have to pay their car note every month. They have to pay their insurance every month. They can't even watch DSTV unless they pay every month.
Wow.
So how are you going to have money to say, let me go back and learn about my family, my history, my roots? When every month you have to worry about, I got to pay this. I got to pay. When do you get a break to think?
Wow.
But that's the system. This allows me to control you left, right, because you never have time to stop and say, oh, how do I work on this, or where do I go from here? You don't have that time. And when you live in America, from the first to about the 20th, 25th of the month is when you finish paying your bills.
Wow. Wow.
You probably got about maybe 5 to 7 days in a month that you can actually think without thinking about paying a bill. 80% of come to Africa.
Wow.
all right. So I don't know if you've seen that video, Vanessa, but it's been trending on Instagram, and there's a lot of people who've reposted it, like Ghana Posts and different pages have reposted Hayford's video from Web Nation Africa. And I mean, he's pretty passionate talking about saying that, 80% of African Americans can't afford to move to Africa. I don't know where he got the number from, but there is a large number of people who really can't afford to not only move to Africa, but move anywhere because of debt. Hayford, did you know that this was the case when he was talking about it? Because I know you've never lived in America. You lived in China, and it's a different system there. But what were your thoughts when he said that?
I thought was really honestly, I don't have the data on that, but for a fact, I know that a lot of people in the US want to come here to the continent, but are trapped down with loans and debts that hold them back. I know that for a fact, but I didn't know if it's 80%. I don't know if it was that huge, but I knew for a fact that that was the issue. And I mean, he was talking about the fact that a lot of African Americans, pretend that they are too big for Africa, and Africa is like way there. It's like I'm going to that Africa, and it's like, listen, even if you want to come, most of you can't afford to come because first of all, it's not really cheap like you think it is. And then, it was controversial. I think a lot of people agree with him, and some disagree. A lot of people like, I can travel. I'm an African American. I've traveled 2 times to this country, that country. But he was talking about the general numbers. which I agree with him 100%.
So there's this comment here saying, true, there are many poor African Americans. Even the rent in places like Accra will kill them. Rent in decent Accra is $2,000 a month. That is even mid-range, and that is 24K a year. I think that, I mean, he makes a good point about the rent. It's not only African Americans and other diaspora who can't afford it. Even local Ghanaians have a hard time paying the rent. I think the biggest challenge is that the rent is being asked for like a year up front, because there's people in America paying $2,000 a month in rent, people in Canada paying $2,000 a month in rent, but they're not being asked to pay 12 months rent up front. They're paying 2 months, first and last months when they move in. 2 months, you're able to get that, you move in, and then you're paying month to month.
Yeah.
I like paying
So the
like
challenge is this whole year and 2 year up front. That's what makes it
It's
difficult.
stressful.
I think you would make it
You like
stressful.
it?
If it stress you, it
It's
will stress
stressful,
you.
yes.
No, if you want it to stress you, it will stress you. It's way better than paying month to month. You understand what I'm saying? You get to have a peace of mind.
Why?
Listen, we are often looking at it from a very shallow perspective as Africans. We have to really go deep into strategies. It frustrates me a lot, right? Month to month is way ridiculous than yearly. Well, if you can't afford, yes, but then if you can't afford, it's better you pay 2 years. You have peace of mind. You don't have to worry about paying a rent. Landlord is coming a month. You get to see your money. You get to see your income. You structure that. You structure your plans way better. From my personal experience, I prefer paying in advance. Someone might prefer month to month. Sure, if the government have something to do, they should help. You state that. But personally, from my experience, I prefer paying in advance because it gives me peace of mind. I get to think and create. But yeah, it frustrates me a lot. This topic, I might not be on your side with this paying advance. I would like to pay like in advance and have time to think to
You know,
take that up.
it's interesting you say that, because I've heard somebody say that, she had peace of mind paying her rent, years up front. The only thing is, yes, you've paid years up front, but then I've seen the stress people have when the rent is coming up. Like, I know someone whose rent was due recently, and he was panicking because he was like, oh my God, I have to pay 2 years. And he barely had 6 months saved up. And it was quickly approaching, and he was so worried about what is he going to do? What is he going to do? So I think that that's another stress when it gets close to the time. If a person hasn't prepared, or if they haven't been able to prepare, I personally prefer the month to month, to be honest. I prefer the month to month. I know some people from Kenya, and when they came to Ghana, they were like, what, you guys had what? Kenya, they'd ask for, I think it's like 3 months up front, and coming to Ghana was like, whoa, this is serious.
Well, look, I
But
think there should be
to each his
options.
own. I mean, that's your opinion.
There should be options. Sure, let me agree with you on that. There should be
They should have
options
what?
where you can.
Options.
There should be options, yes, to choose to pay 3 months, 6 months, flexible, or a year or two. There should be like that, and then you can choose to pay in advance. There should be like that. Yeah, let me correct myself. For people who would find that frustrating, or even someone who is like looking to stay for short term and then move around the continent and not staying like a year in Ghana. I know a few business folks who travel a lot in Africa, and then staying in a hotel is very expensive. You would like to have a short stay in an Airbnb or something similar, like an apartment, where you might like to stay for 3 months. So I know if you're that kind of person and you don't have that option, it is frustrating. I understand that. There should be that flexible options for people who want to maybe do pay in 3 months or a month. Yeah.
Okay. Those of you joining, I'm here with Web Nation Africa and with Vanessa Giant. I'm going to put Vanessa's Instagram. It's Modern Day Mom GH, right?
What is my Instagram? Okay, no, it's Vanessa. Right. Oh, it's Vanessa_Jan. But then the hashtag that I have on it is Modern Day Mom GH. So it's just my name at Vanessa_Jan.
Okay. Okay. At Vanessa underscore. Okay, so let me put that on the screen so that those of you watching who want to follow her, you can follow her on Instagram. Is it the same? It's the same on Twitter too, right?
Yes. Oh yeah, Instagram. Okay, so yeah, Instagram Vanessa
So
underscore
pardon
Jan.
the delay. I'm trying to.
Yeah. And all they can find like my modern day mom and everything in the bios of all my accounts. All the other things that I do.
Okay. Okay. So you can find her at Vanessa underscore Jine and follow her, all the things that she's been doing. She's been doing some great things. I talk really quickly. I know we're here talking about the diaspora and with moving to Ghana, but I just want people who are following my YouTube channel who may not know about you to know a little bit more about your you have something coming up. You have a brunch, a mom's brunch coming up.
Mhm.
Am I right?
Yes, yes. So okay, so I launched Modern Day Mom just as the pandemic was about to hit. It was already in the works for years, and over the years we've had like virtual happy hours. I've interviewed moms from different parts of the world on being a mom, the journey of motherhood, and I've always just wanted to throw a brunch, an intimate brunch, just to celebrate moms. Now I throw baby showers for my NGO, and that's for moms of lower income families, lower income neighborhoods. That's for the post pregnancy bougie express, and we do that every year. This is the first year that we're actually not throwing a baby shower, and I'm devastated, but it's okay. So I usually do that for moms of low income families. And when it came to modern day mom, when I thought of my brunch, I wanted to celebrate women that from afar and from near, moms that I admire. Some know that I admire them. Some have no clue how much they inspire me as moms and as women and as wives or girlfriends. Um, but yeah, this brunch is an intimate brunch for 20 moms, just celebrating them. You know, it's a day off for them. They'll come, you know, enjoy some amazing food, amazing drinks, music, and we get to chat a little bit about our journeys of motherhood. And this is the first edition. It's happening next Saturday, so this is the first of many. And I want to build on it. I wanted to build. You know, we've started with 20. You know, hopefully the next edition will be like 40, 50. You know, but it's really just about celebrating motherhood because I've been a mom for almost 6 years, and yes, it's my son sometimes can drive me nuts. He was coming even in and out as we were on the live when he's supposed to be sleeping. But one thing I think everyone knows is that I love being a mom, and I want other moms to like just love the experience also, no matter how hard it's been. Because I'm a single mom, you know. Well, I was a single mom. Now, my next journey, I'm not a single mom, so I'm gonna be experiencing both worlds, you know, being the single mom and then now, you know, experiencing, you know. So I just feel like there's so much I've soaked up and I want to spread, and I know that there's other moms who have the same, you know, they have their own experiences that they would love to share also. And it's a network, a support network. And I think one thing people love quickly about modern day mom is that because of me being the fact that I was a single mom, and you know, they know that it's a non-judgmental zone. You know, you can come in and really just be. And I think that's so important, especially in the society that we live in, to have a space where you can just be comfortable with who you are as a mom and your situation, and know that you will always have that support. Yeah. I can't hear you. It's on mute. Mhm.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. I'm starting again because I was on mute. So thank you so much. Those of you who are watching, you can follow her at Vanessa_Jain. I have her handle on the screen. Modern Day Moms. She has a brunch, and you can check out all the things she's doing. And she has a really engaging Twitter conversations and chats and topics that come up. So I think it's really, really awesome. Thank you so much. If you have to go, you feel, just let me know, because I don't want to keep you on too long, because I do know that I had asked you this. So I'm going to go into the comments and hear more about what people are saying in the comment section, because we've got an active comment section today. We have someone here who says, it's Kwame. We have some people who are really engaging today. Kwame says, one thing for me that is an issue is Gan Ewe and insist on speaking English. Speaking the mother tongue helps to assimilate well. One thing I will say is learning another language is very, very challenging. A lot of people don't realize learning another language can be very, very challenging. There are organizations trying to teach a lot of diasporans to learn to speak Tree. It is difficult learning a language as an adult. Children is very easy. Adults, it's hard learning a new language. I think that English is a language that has kind of taken over the entire world. So a lot of people speak English, no matter where they speak. Even Africans, when they move to America or move to Europe or something, they already know how to speak English or French because of having been a colonized country. So what do you two feel? Do you think that this is makes it difficult to assimilate in Ghana?
No, I do feel like it's this, like it's like you have to, like you can't force people. There's also a way to convince, I guess I should say, but it's like this force, like, or like, hey, so you don't know how to speak Tree, but you are Ghanaian, or like, just because you were in a brochure doesn't mean you should not speak. And it's very forceful. And I think a lot of us diasporans, the forceful behavior is something we cannot, yeah, we can't deal with. Like, for me, I grew up, my mom spoke Tree in the house. My mom speaks in Zama. My mom, but I understand it 100%. I can speak it to get past anywhere, to navigate the system. But there was this thing of like, they would laugh at me, Ghanaians that like, hey, so this is how you speak your Tree, hey, a brofo, and it doesn't make me.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't make me. When you do that, you don't make me want to
It
go
doesn't
and
make you
learn
want to
it
speak
better.
because
Yeah. You're just like, you're putting me, instead of saying, oh, V, this is how you say this word.
Yeah.
Or this is how you say that. Oh, you said it, but a little bit, you should teach instead of being so like, you're bringing the person down. That's what I've received. But it doesn't bother me. I still speak the Tree the way I speak it. My New York accent is very strong. So when it blends, it kind of is dodgy. But I always say, for the first couple of years that I was in Ghana and I was taking like the regular taxi, I was able to get from A to B with the Tree that I was speaking. So I must have been doing something right.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a taxi driver once tell me that he didn't like my Tree. He was like, I was speaking Tree, then he was like, hey, madam, uchinu nyame demenka. For those who don't know, I said that the taxi driver said, madam, somebody's speaking the language and then you tell them you don't like how they speak it and to tell them to stop. Those kinds of attitudes are what make a person discouraged. But I did a clap back, and I did a clap back, and I said, well, your English isn't good, so don't speak it. So,
Yeah.
and I was like, I only did that because, you should
Yes.
should rather encourage a person so that they can keep on improving themselves. I don't tell a person your English is bad, don't speak it. I just, I take the time to listen to them because I can understand what you're saying. I'm like, you can hear me, right? You understood me. Then that's it. Um, so what do you
It's very important. You coming into the country, you have to have a strategy. You have to know that knowing the language of the land is very important to you. You don't have to be controlled by people's reaction to you speaking the English and let that manipulate you from not learning. It is you are putting yourself as a disadvantage. I've stayed in countries like India, China, where they don't speak like you and I speak, which is English. I needed to learn Hindi. I needed to learn Chinese. When I learned how to speak Chinese, doors that was closed were open to me. Listen, they would criticize you. You would go to a store and you want to say something, you want to buy something like water. They will hear you. The person might know that you want to buy water, but then probably be like, oh, what temple the Nishoshama? What are you saying? I don't understand. Till you say it in Chinese, and then they become friends with you. So there's so many things coming to you. So for me, anytime I go into a country and I don't understand the language, I have my formula. Okay, learn the language first. Merge with the communities, go into the communities, laugh at me at all you want. I know that I have a 5-year plan, 10-year plan. This first year, I'm learning this language. This the doors that are going to open after learning this. I have a strategy. No matter what you say, I'm not going to get. I'm not a feelings person. You can't manipulate me when it comes to like that. I don't get offended when you laugh at me or anything like that. So for me, I've never really had a problem. But any advice that I'll give to people coming in is understand that learning the language is good for you yourself. Okay, when you learn it and you want to forget later after you're done with your businesses here or whatever you came here for, it's up to you. But it's very essential. You need to learn it.
So if you say you need to learn it, which language you say a person should learn? Because I think one of the reasons that the diaspora is attracted to Ghana is because Ghana used to be a British colony, which means that people speak English and English is listed as the official language. And I think that's what
We still
attracts a
don't
lot of
like the
people
colonial.
to coming to Ghana because oh no, I'm just saying that that's what attracts people is that's what makes a person choose Ghana instead of choosing Togo or Ivory Coast because they don't speak French.
Listen,
There's
listen.
America,
We come with
Canada
a,
is a bilingual.
we come with a lot of complaints and why we don't speak English. Instead of understanding that the majority of people learning the language here on the continent, and then if that number surpass the number of people speaking English, then our language becomes stronger. Then our descendants speak that language where we are familiar with. Then in the future, when you come, it wouldn't be a problem. You know what I'm saying? But if you keep speaking English and it's you're putting yourself at
I
at
know.
a disadvantage in the very long run. And I want people to understand that. I'm not really talking about the shallow part of it and then the brouhaha that comes with the taxi drivers. That's not what I'm interested in. I'm here to, just let our people understand that what we have to do now for the next 50 years, 100 years. So problems that we're facing now is eliminated in the long run. Short term, sure, you can get in your feelings and get offended when someone, say, hey, we are burning, cheating, all those things. I understand that, it's funny things and Ghanaians, love to, take it. But we have to understand that it is for our own good to, learn our tree, go back home to Canada, teach your friends how to speak tree. Their children learn how to speak tree. Sooner or later, in the next 100 years, everybody is speaking tree. Okay, and then you can just tell people to speak tree. We don't, I get frustrated when topics like this come because we don't look at it at the long term. We just look at it very short term, and it confuses me a lot. As Black people, we have to do better. We have to think long term.
Yeah.
Engaging conversation today. I've been talking with Hayford of Web Nation Africa and with Vanessa Jain, who is from she's an award-winning media personality as well as a philanthropist, and she has been doing some amazing things in Ghana. She's been living in Ghana for 10 years, really made her mark in this country, and she's a proof that you can make it if you go for the long haul, because a lot of people have been coming. She tweeted recently, for those of you who are just joining and may have missed the beginning of our conversation, she recently tweeted about the diaspora, people going back, people packing up their bags. I have she left and hasn't looked back. A couple of other people I know who were living here for a few years packed up and went back. One went back to the UK. Someone's gone back to Canada. Like there's people who I've been friends with, and it's like, oh, you're leaving? Oh, so it's like it's kind of sad sometimes because you're like, oh wow, I thought
Yeah.
it's disheartening, but I can understand why some people, end up doing that because the challenges they face, sometimes it's easier for them to just go back and, be part of the simple systems, the simple infrastructure, understand why people do that. So yeah. We're going to be wrapping up soon. So I just want to quickly go through the comments and see what people are saying here. I know there's some of these comments are probably from a while back that I've missed as we were having conversations. Kwame saying under Ghana rent laws, its laws are not enforced. It's supposed to be 6 months in advance only, but people are out here doing 1 and 2 years. I remember during the pandemic, they said that they were going to actually enforce the law to 6 months, but it never happened. WM West Africa 1980 says, I wouldn't like paying years up front because there's no guarantee I'll even want. That's what I was thinking. I was like, if I've paid 2 years up front, I know somebody who had paid 2 years on a place and then had lots of problems. The water wasn't pumping, there was so many issues, and she was like, I've already paid 2 years, so now I'm stuck. Whereas if you had the month to month, years, and now you're stuck.
Yes.
So that's the drawback of that situation when you have paid so much up front. Kwame says, we need to talk about Nigerians causing problems in Ghana. They're always in the news. You know what? I hear this conversation. I had somebody I was talking to recently. I don't hate Nigerians. I love Nigerian people. I love my Nigerian people. I think that the news sometimes can be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Tabloid. The news can be very tabloidish in how it reports stories. There's Ghanaians in Ghana, not just Nigerian people. There's Ghanaian people also causing problems. So I don't want to really go deep into that, but I think that there's always people in general, period, who cause problems in society. So we shouldn't try to single out a particular group because Nigerians are Africans, and they do contribute a lot to Ghana. So I don't want to go too deep into that. But anyway, Menelik Cheney says, this is a very informative live. I plan to move to Ghana in the next 4 years. This info is helping me prepare to look forward to the best, yet prepare for the not so good. There's both sides to it. But in the long run, if you are able to make it, it can really be a sweet life. If you can really build something for yourself. Because one thing I like to say, and I don't know if both of you agree, is that Ghana is a place where you can come and build a huge business for you. You'll have frustrations doing it, but it's like that grassroots level of what someone in the US may have had in 1920. 1920, a person who, the Black people didn't have access to these things, so it was mostly white people, because years ago, people built businesses that are now multi-million-dollar businesses because they've become legacy companies where it's handed down in the family. So like, for example, Vanessa, your business may be something that you hand down to your child, and it becomes a legacy company. And that's something you're able to build in places like Ghana because you have the capability of starting from the grassroots. And it's a place where there's little niches you can find that you're like, oh, there's not as much competition as there would be if you were in the US or something, and you're able to build business in Africa, telling stories from Africa and getting noticed by the world. This is something you're able to do here on this continent in a space where the opportunities are like ripe, you know? So I want people to really look at that as, if you're coming here and you want to start a business, it's a long game. You build year after year after year. And if it's your passion and your purpose, you'll stick with it. If it's not, you'll pack up and go. You know, if you came for the the fun and excitement and all and only that, then it fades away after a while. And then what's left? And then that's when people just, you pack up and go. Coming from a few more comments before we wrap up. My plant-based creation says, for me, it was the roads, the 1 to 2 years required rent, and diaspora scamming, not even considering the language. I'm retired and did not feel I could overcome all of that shame. So I want to talk about the diaspora scam a lot, about feeling like they're targeted and they're being scammed. One thing I want the diaspora to know who are watching: don't feel like it's just you. Please don't feel like you are being targeted because you're from the diaspora, because I promise you there are Ghanaians who are born and raised scammed. So it's about trying to ask all the questions you need, all your checks and balances. When you build a community of people, you can always ask, is this really right? Is this really the cost? Is this what this is supposed to be, to help you? Because I was talking to someone who's from the person could tell from my accent that I don't speak Tree or Gan. They could tell that I'm not from this area, and and said that they get ripped off all the time. Being from the north, they don't know what the prices are on Accra, and they were getting ripped off all the time. So it can happen to anyone. So don't take it as a personal diaspora thing. It's definitely, unfortunately, something that there's people that do that to other people here. Poverty breeds bad wealth. There's a lot of wealthy people, but there's also a lot of poverty as well. So the poverty mindset ends up getting people to do things to make quick cash, which ends up getting people scammed when they're trying to make quick cash. So I'm really sorry that you had experienced those things, my plant-based creations. I'm really sorry you experienced those. It's not good to go through those things, because it's not like you're in a position to say you're going to recover. If you're someone who's 30 or something, you can, if something happens, you have the years ahead to recover. But retirement age is really difficult to try to recover from those kinds of things. So I'm really sorry you went through that. Yes, it does not matter about your accent or a brofusem. If you make an attempt to speak, people will embrace you. Yes, I do make an attempt to speak often. I do. Right now, I mean, I can speak Tree. Right now, there's a lady on my street trying to get me to speak Ewe, since my father is Ewe hard. So, yeah. Thank you, everybody who has joined today. If you want to support the channel, don't forget you can always do super chat.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Even with me, my son, we from very young, we speak Tree in the house with him. Even if mine is not the best, his nanny speaks Tree. And even though he's in an American school, I was very happy that Tree is what they teach as their language. So I'm doing my part for at least my next generation.
That's good. That's good. That's really good. So he's gonna be fluent. He's gonna be fluent. Yes. That's good. I know a lot of people who've been telling me they're glad that their kids are learning the language since their kids are being raised here.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's really, really good. We have the most widely spoken mother tongue is Tree, and if you're in Accra, then Ga. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, Tree is very common across the country. I've been in I've been almost everywhere in the country, almost every region. I have not been to the Upper West region, but most places I've been, like I'm not expecting it. Like in Tamale, I was not expecting to meet people speaking Tree, but there was people speaking Tree. So, yeah. So we have another person here commenting on language. Truth Serum 101 says, do you really expect someone to learn Tree, Ga, and Ewe, 3 languages? Actually, there's African one thing I have to say about African people on the continent of Africa, they are polyglots, which is multilingual. They are generally multilingual people. Like I'll meet someone who speaks 5 languages. In Ghana, I regularly meet people who speak 3 languages, 3, 4, 5 languages. He spoke Ga, he spoke Adangbe, he spoke Ewe, and English, that's 5. And he spoke German, so he spoke 6 languages. And I have a lot of people who I meet that speak at least 2 or 3. Yeah, it's pretty common, and I mean English is the official language because it was a former colonized country. So that's the nature of the beast. Let's see. Oh, looks like Vanessa dropped off somehow. Probably her internet disconnected. I'm not sure if she'll be able to learn. Plan is learn some other African languages. Deja Views is here. Thank you so much for joining, Deja. Teach your friend the tree, please. Beg. Yes, we must all learn. Oh, you want to learn, Deja? Deja, I know she wants to learn T and tree. Good for you. That is really good. AfroConnect TV says, is Ghana ready for Web 3.0? Currently, how reliable and affordable is the current internet infrastructure? I know the guy, Del Titus, who has been working on getting Web 3 in Ghana. There have been 3 Web 3 conferences being worked on, and hopefully it gets full support and goes really well, because internet isn't always stable. It's not always stable in Ghana. So yeah, as I experienced earlier, yeah. Lady Ivy, hey, Lady Ivy. The question you asked Ivy is very important. What language do you recommend diasporas learn and why? I think you answered that already. Tree. Hayford said he thinks that everybody should speak Tree, correct?
Let me say this. A lot of Africans, we are our own problems. Okay, we have tribal issues. Oh, why we speak Tree? I can't. It's why not speak Ga? We are we are causing our own demise. When you have to understand that you are in a nation where majority of people in the nation speak this language, which has been elected by probably the government as the official language. Now you understand that this is the data and the thing out there that you would be at a disadvantage, right? Well, it is the policy now. What are you going to do about it? Just not speak it and be at a disadvantage, or speak it and then be able to, move around. English language is not our language. Therefore, we don't even, be angry about it, and say, oh, why are we, speaking English if it's not? We don't even care. But then when it comes to tree, it's like, oh, it's from that can. Why not speak Ga? Why not speak Ewe? That's a problem that we actually have to, find a way to, solve. Tree is mostly speaking, most probably 80% everywhere in Ghana. If you want to go to the north to take share butter or anything like that, you might find someone there who speaks, Tree. So why not learn Tree? Take advantage of it. Use it as your language for business, and reap all the benefits. What you have nothing to lose. You always have your own dialect if you want to learn from your hometown. Sure, you can learn it. It doesn't put you in any kind of disadvantage or anything like that. That's what I can say.
Okay, all right. We have in a response to the earlier comment about Web Nation Africa, about Web 3.0, Colin says, Dabi, Ghana is not ready for Web 3.0. My view as a network infra ops tech. Thank you for that. Ghana is Doomsaw. He said Doomsaw. For those who don't know, Doomsaw is it's a combined words in tree. Doom for off, and then saw for on. So off and on, off and on. Doomsaw is a term used to talk about Wikipedia page. Did you know that, Hayford?
Yeah. Hello?
Yes, Doomsaw has its own Wikipedia page, and it's. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you
Can you
now.
hear me, Hayford? Doomsaw has its
I didn't know
own
that.
Wikipedia page. For those who don't know, uh, yes, Doomsaw has a Wikipedia page. So if you don't know, those of you watching, go and look for Doomsaw. It's right here on the screen. Dumsor. Doomsaw. It's on Wikipedia. Describing. I first saw that, I was like, what? It's
At least the audience have learned a new tree word
gotten to
today.
that point that it has its own Wikipedia. Yes, it's a new tree word, Doomsaw. Yes. So yeah, the power outages have been happening lately. Like it's been sporadic. They say there's a load shedding schedule, but it's yeah. When I had an electrician coming to fix some things today, and wouldn't you know it, he comes to fix electrical wiring, and the power goes out. I was like, what? The power is out. So he can't even check if what he's done.
Yeah. Collins
So
T
funny.
said
Yeah.
over
So
there's a comment. I
yeah.
think the comment is leaning on your side. I think there are so many interesting comments coming up. One from Colin T. Do you see it at your side? About how Diaspora are going back?
This one? No, let me go back. What's it about how diaspora are going back? Western countries will
Yes.
suffer worst in this world recession. Why would anyone leave Africa or Latin or debt-based slave system we live through in the West? Is this the one?
No, there was one before that. Wait, let me see.
Before or after?
Did it disappear? Colin T, did you recall it?
I additional bras, shakas
Yes.
comment. Many that go back desire to keep learning and
Rashak, I said a lot
change.
of people from diaspora are going back because they didn't come to stay. Two, they didn't plan properly. That was a comment I was referring to. It was not Colin T, it was Brash Shaka, sorry. I think that's pretty interesting.
Okay, so it's from bra. Okay, so it's from bra shaka. Bra
Mhm.
shaka. Okay.
I think
Okay. A lot of people from diaspora are going back because they didn't come. Go ahead.
hello?
You want to comment on this? Go ahead.
Yeah, I've met people who actually
You want to comment on this? Go ahead.
yes, I met people actually who came with a mindset of I'm going to do this for a year. If it doesn't work, I'm going back. And then because of that, the number of efforts that you would put into whatever you're coming here to do would be reduced drastically. This is mental a trick. If you plan like that, you might not necessarily succeed. But if you come knowing that, listen, I'm going to spend 10 years or whatever here, either I succeed or I succeed, nothing else more, then you are more likely to, what I'm saying, like succeed. But if you're like, okay, I want to spend 2 years, see how it's going, and if it doesn't do this, I'll just return back home. You've already failed unless miracles do happen. And for preparation, I always say this: a lot of our forefathers traveled to countries like U.S. and Canada to seek greener pastures. And stories that I've heard, people went with like $10 if you convert the Ghana cedis into the $10, $20, $50. Fast forward 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, they have, you know, a lot of wealth down here, and those are the ones we call big boys and all those things. They have been able to build houses, build businesses, and are successful. So I don't see why you know, hesitate to come here on your own land where your root is and suffer on your own land and succeed here. What is wrong with that? You know, a lot of people, even diasporans who traveled out to the US, Canada, most of the time when they return home, because of the persona that they've created, that, oh, I'm bugger, you know, I have money. Because if they go to the diaspora, make money, and come back here, they always, you know, be like big, big. So when you come back to invest and then it doesn't go according to plan, and you have to struggle, maybe live in a very low apartment, smaller apartment, they can't deal with it because everybody around them has a persona like, oh, this person there is rich, or we are rich. So then that gets into their mind, and then they feel ashamed to, you know, go through the hard times to succeed eventually, which you will. So they end up leaving. So it could be, you know, a few other things, and you know, your family members, you know, telling you like, why are you here? You could be making money there, you know. So there's few things that, you know, hold people back and make them go back after they don't succeed within a year or two on a continent.
It's so true. I have met people. I know people who come, and the plan is to come just for a year, and then if it doesn't work out, then they say they're going to go back. I do meet a lot of people who that's the case. They have a 1-year plan or a 2-year plan, and if it doesn't go the way that they had hoped, then they decide to this. You might not be 100% invested in making the journey. I do understand for some people who maybe they have kids or they have a spouse, and you know, they have to make decisions collectively as a family. Those kinds of situations can be more challenging in making the decision to move to Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what you're saying is very, you can always go back. Then a lot of times they'll always have that thought of, you know, it's easy to just leave and go back. Yeah, it's very true. Very, very true.
Mm-hmm.
We have more and more people joining. Today we're talking about, is it too hard for the diaspora? Is Ghana too hard for the diaspora? Thank you for joining Asasi Real Estate. Asasi Real Estate has been doing some really amazing in Ghana, so that people can have long-lasting life plans to live in Ghana, to have plant roots in Ghana, and they do that through land and the community that they have been building in Ghana. So thank you so much for joining this evening. I appreciate you. Brashaka, thank you so much for your comment and the contributions you've been making to today's conversation. I'm currently speaking with Hayford from Web Nation Africa, who speaks a lot to the diaspora community. And we were speaking with Vanessa Jine. Unfortunately, she had to go. I do appreciate the time she did spend with us. She is a award-winning media personality as well as a philanthropist. And so right now, as we continue with the conversation, we also talked about a video that was trending from Web Nation Africa about how 80% of diaspora can't afford to move back to Africa. That video was an interview that he did with someone from the diaspora who's moved to Ghana and built a business, a fashion business, a clothing line that he has in Ghana. And so let's continue with the comments. We have Stacey G, who says, "Good evening, everyone. This topic about the diaspora's longevity or less with how they live in Ghana is a many-sided conversation, and it has to be approached delicately. I'm in my 3rd year." Congratulations on being in your 3rd year. It's definitely a challenge making the move to Ghana for anyone. I would love to hear more of your experience being in your 3rd year and what's making you stay. If you have a business that you're doing here, or what made you come in the first place to Ghana, because I know a lot of people have different reasons for making the move. For some people, it's a spiritual return. For some people, this is where their family is from, so they decide to come. For some people, they've always wanted to touch base in Africa, and so they make the decision to come to an African country and they choose Ghana. And for some people, they maybe took a vacation and they were here for some time and then decided to stay. I've met quite a few people like that who came on holidays and then just stayed and never went back, especially during the pandemic when the borders were closed in a lot of places. A lot of people who just stayed, and now they're here and they're residents and they're thriving in their own way in Ghana. So yeah, so Stacey G, I would love to hear more in the comments if you're open to sharing what you've been doing in Ghana. Kwame says, I have a friend who has been in Ghana for almost 40 years, and his take is whether Africa is good or bad, he is not leaving. There's a lot of people who have that same sentiment. I know you've probably met people like that as well, Hayford, have you?
Yeah. I think honestly, I think Africa, Ghana here is cheap now compared to where it's going to be in the next 10 to 20 years. It is very cheap now. This is your time to take advantage. You think it's cheap, it's expensive. Wait. Okay, I have friends who bought land in places like East Legon Hills for $60,000 per 70 by 80, and within now I checked again, and it's going for probably 80, 90,000, and $100,000 within a period of 2 years. Okay, and then the way the way that we see the future going, these prices are going to go up. I want people in the diaspora to understand this, that economy will not go down. It will not be cheaper. Understand this. If you want cheaper countries in Africa, there's a lot of options out there. You can go to a least developed country and still invest there, buy land for cheap, and wait for 10 years for the economy to get to where Ghana is now. But if you want to come into Ghana to take advantage of what is happening here and what is going to happen in the next 10 years, then this is your offer. It's cheaper now. Take advantage of it. Don't complain and sit back. You know what I'm saying? Because go to a country like Dubai. If you want to invest in Dubai, you can't even buy land right now in Dubai. All you can buy is an apartment. And I can promise you, if you have less than $100,000, you might not be able to even afford a condo in Abu Dhabi or even Dubai. So we have to be able to weigh our options. You have to understand, listen, there's price to pay and there's reward. If you're not willing to pay the price, right now to buy expensive properties like that at this price, you will not reap the benefits. Understand it very carefully. You have to be business minded with all these things. If you're moving here to stay, sure, I understand that there are a few options for you to live very outskirts of Accra. You don't even have to be in Accra. Go to somewhere it's affordable. You can get land very cheaper there. There's so many options for you. But if you want to be in the comments in Accra here to make money, to do business, you have to understand that this is the price to pay. And then the sky is the limit with the economy. It's not going back down. I can promise you that. With my analysis, I might be wrong. If it comes like that, I apologize. But with my analysis, it's not going down. And you'd rather make money than lose money in the long run.
I agree. It's not coming down. It's just been going up and up and up, because there's places that I remember, Legon Hills, Lakeside Estate in 2012. There were like houses there that were 50,000 to 80,000 for like 2-bedroom. And I know that they're more than 100K in that area now, but that's in a span of like 8 to 10 years that it's increased, and it's always going up. So, definitely it's something that appreciates. It's not going to go down. It's just going to keep going up. So you definitely have a very good point there. This has been a really engaging conversation. We've been talking about if it's too hard in Ghana for the diaspora. We've also talked about, is it too expensive for the diaspora? Why is the diaspora leaving Ghana? There's some who come and they stay for a few years and then they leave and they don't come back. If there's anybody in there who wants to join, I would love, sometimes I have people in the audience join us in the conversation.
And Stacey, if they want to join, you can feel free. I think Asasha or Stacey can join us. They're really giving some good points in the comment section.
I've just put the link in the comment section. If somebody would like to join us live on the live stream, we would love to have you join us. So I think people should aim to come first to visit, then come again to start investing in people and potential ventures. You have to be prepared to pay your university fees to learn, including losses. Very excellent point made there by Asasi Real Estate. It's so true. People need to visit first. And I've actually said that too. In my book that I wrote, Your Essential Guide on Moving to Ghana, I actually say in the book to visit Ghana first. And I actually recommend staying for like at least a month. If you can stay more, that's great. But a month is a solid amount of time. when you come, that you can, you have your little vacation time for the first week or something, and then you get down to business and figure out if it's something that you really want to do. Because if you're a first time person and you've never been, and coming for just like a week or just 2 weeks, it's really hard to try to really know if it's a place that you want to be and you want to invest in. So I do recommend a little bit longer if you are able to. And then Sarsi continues to say, you can't be coming to do back-to-back party sessions unless you're moving like a youngster. Yeah, it's so true. You can't be doing party after party if you're just coming for vacation vibes and leave, and you're not looking to invest. I guess that's what people would do. And then continues with, if you have a dream to eventually live here, then yes, you will have to bite the bullet and invest in land or a place to stay. It's very, very true. There's so much. So I put the link in the comments for any of you who want to join this conversation with us. It would be great to have somebody in the comments join us before we wrap up in the next little while. Living Natural Village says, thanks for this conversation. You are most welcome. It is important. People do need to prepare themselves when they come to Ghana and know that, you have to feel like you have a purpose to have it be lasting. Because if you don't have a purpose, then it's easy to just pack up and go. It's definitely something that it has to be like it's like a spirit, in your heart. And it's something that you really, really need to plan properly. Hello, Ivy, Web Nation. Nothing is hard in Africa. Those blacks with weak mindset, you may get shot in the USA, stay in Africa. That comment is from Noel Brown. Thank you for your contribution. And Colin T says, agree, 2 months to get the vibe here. And then we have Kenny X, Donk X says, some of us Sub-Saharan Africans are mentally weak and we always complain without solutions. We always want to live off what Europeans and Asians have built. That's a comment from Kenny X, Donk X. Thank you so much. It looks like Web Nation Africa's network may have disconnected. Hopefully he's able to jump back on. I'm putting the link to the live stream in the comment section again. If any of you want to join me in this conversation, I'll put you on the live and you can be part of this topic of conversation, talking about in Africa, if it's hard for people in Ghana. I'm going to play this clip again that was from Web Nation Africa for those of you who may have missed it earlier, because I know that throughout a live stream is a long time, and sometimes people, jump on midway, and sometimes people jump off and come back on. And so I'm going to play the clip again. This is from Web Nation Africa. For those of you who may not have seen this yet, Hayford interviewed this gentleman, and he spoke very candidly about his thoughts when it comes to African Americans or Africans in the diaspora in general coming to an African country. And he said that he believed that they can't afford to live in Africa, and that's why they can't come. So I'm going to share the screen with that video and let some of you know your thoughts. Let some of you want to hear your thoughts on it, what you think. Okay, so it's on the screen now. I hope you all can see. So I'm going to play the video.
80% of African Americans, stop pretending, cannot afford to come to Africa.
Wow, really?
I'm saying they cannot afford. They may want it in their heart, but America has them shoes, have them bootstrapped, tied. Because guess what? They have to pay mortgage every month. They have to pay their car note every month. They have to pay their insurance every month. They can't even watch DSTV unless they pay every month.
Wow.
So how are you going to have money to say, let me go back and learn about my family, my history, my roots from every month? You have to worry about, I got to pay this. I got to pay. When do you get a break to think?
Wow.
But that's the system. This allows me to control you left, right. Because you never have time to stop and say, oh, how do I work on this, or where do I go from here? You don't have that time. When you live in America, most people, if they're being honest, on the first of the month, from the 1st to about the 20th, 25th of the month is when you finish paying your bills.
Wow. Wow.
You probably got about maybe 5 to 7 days in a month that you can actually think without thinking about paying a bill. 80.
He was so passionate when he was talking. It was like you
Yes,
feel,
very.
like
You
you
see,
feel it.
yes. You can feel it. I understand. I understand his frustrations, and there are so many things that is just hidden in plain sight, but we don't see it. Okay, we don't see it, and when you kind of talk about it, people don't understand you. They misunderstand you. But he's very passionate about it, and he see what is making our people be at a disadvantage. And he feel like, why don't you get what I'm saying? These things are what is putting you at a disadvantage. The rat race, paying rent back to back, you taking student loan, buying your car, knowing very well you can't afford, taking loans and all those things are holding you back, in order for you to achieve what you want to achieve. And yeah, I mean, I still believe that there are few people who are in the diaspora who can actually afford to come home, and that they will come home, as soon as they free themselves from the loans.
We have Kwame joining us. Thank you so much, Kwame, for joining the live stream today and to add to this conversation. Please introduce yourself and where you are.
So I'm a Ghanaian in the UK. I have a podcast called Ghana in Focus. And I'm an entrepreneur as well in Ghana and also in the UK as well.
Say the name of your podcast again.
Yeah, it's called Ghana / Africa in Focus podcast.
Okay. And what do you talk about on your podcast?
Well, so basically it's about Ghana. So we talked about topics like land in Ghana, how to buy land in Ghana, how to buy properties in Ghana, the renting in Ghana, particularly Accra, also business opportunities. We've spoken to a couple of African Americans who've left America to come to Ghana, talk about their challenges and experiences. We've also talked about hot topics, for example, we've talked about Dumso. Talked about also why Ghanaian youth are wanting to leave Ghana. So it's quite a mixed bag of issues about Ghana and also about the continent as well.
Okay, thank you. And Stacy G has just joined. Stacy G, can you introduce
Hi.
yourself?
I'm so sorry. It's nighttime for me, so I'm not looking all glammed up. And Hayford, you will see me. You and I have a date. I'm Sama Time's mom. I think she's getting a small buzz. I've actually met you, Miss Ivy, a few times.
Yes.
The first time I came to Ghana to live in 2020, I think I saw you at the Pedwasi Valley Resort and I got to meet you. So before I say anything else, I want to say thank you for your, you and Anna Achapong and I want to say Natural Ghana Girl have done a beautiful job in making sure that diaspora are very equipped in coming here. And I think it's important that people watch your videos rigorously so that they can understand how to sustain themselves here. Ghana is no easy feat. It's very challenging. I've met a lot of diaspora who have come here, and I've been disappointed to see them go back in their year and a half because mentally it has drained them and they could not sustain.
Yeah, it's very, very challenging. You've been here for a while. I think, was it a couple of years? Is it 2 or 3 years or more than that?
Yeah, but 3 years now. It's different for me. I have a bit of a sweet spot. So the majority of my husband and I's family is here. We don't really rely on them. We just know that they're here. And that kind of helps. Also, we've had friends too from university back in New York who have returned back home. And that also helps out a lot too. You have to be mentally prepared to be here. Blessings have literally fell in my lap. I tried to start my catering business and God was like, yeah, that's cute, but I got better plans for you. And then my daughter ended up on TV3 and then things took a turn from there. So I think the best thing to do is pray. Make sure you are led here. Do not come because of the 2019 trend. I've seen a lot of people come and go and spent so much money and lost so much money. make sure you are called. There are 53 other countries in this continent to go to. I would say explore as much as possible, see which one fits you. And I do want to say this is going to come off kind of controversial. I'm not a person who is with the all diaspora need to relocate here. I am, however, going to say all diaspora should visit here and see if it speaks to you. There's a lot of nuances here that a lot of people are not built for. And if you come with this romanticized idea, I swear I've seen it many times, you will be chewed out and spit out. So think before you come and be very prepared.
So we have Kwame who has joined, Kwabena who's joined us. Kwabena.
Evening, Ivy. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Very well, very well. I thought I have to jump on and join my brothers and sisters here.
Please introduce yourself. Please introduce yourself to the audience and let us know where you are.
Yeah, my name is Kwabena Osei Martin. I'm a patriot like everyone on the screen. I'm currently speaking to you from London, and I spend half my time in Ghana, 5-6 months a year, and half my time in London.
And you're doing some amazing things as well, helping people to plant roots in Ghana.
Yeah, we're trying. You know, I think I always say everyone has a department, and my department is land. And I think my sister Stacey put it very, very well. She said it's like a calling. You know, when you come to Ghana for the first time, you know, a lot of people get, I call it the itch. It's like the sweetest pain in the world. And it becomes a bit like an obsession sometimes, because there is something very, very special about our country that we love called Ghana. And I think Stacey is right. You know, there's 53 countries in Africa, I think 53, 54. But Ghana has something very, very special. I think for the brothers and sisters that are in Europe, obviously time zones are conducive. The fact it's not a francophone country, you know, so a lot of people that speak English can navigate themselves around. It's very peaceful, it's very safe, it's very stable, and it's a good bet. And I think that, you know, our generation has to be willing to bet. Nothing guaranteed in this world, you know, but what we do know is that for a lot of us that are in the West, you know, the West is changing very, very quickly. It doesn't feel like it's changing for any good purpose. So if we don't bet, we will be stuck. And being stuck doesn't feel like a good option. So, you know, a friend of mine once said to me that the only thing worse than the wrong plan is no plan. So we got to have a plan. It doesn't actually matter whether it's right or wrong, because we don't have a crystal ball, but we've got to have a plan. And I think, you know, I think those of us that are Ghanaian feel very privileged to be in this time of history where so many people feel like the plan should include Ghana. Yeah. So, you know, I provide land to people. I do not sell land. You know, land belongs to God. You can't sell it. You can only provide it to people that are called to the land. So we're very, very philosophical about what we do and why we're doing it. And, you know, I often say to people that I don't supply land to them. I'm supplying land to their children and grandchildren. You know, many people on this call, many people watching, we're in our late 30s, early 40s. We've got people in their 50s. We're at half time now. You know, we've had an amazing life. We've had lots of journeys. But, you know, as an Asante, we always live for our grandchildren. You know, our grandmas would always say, Nana Num, Nana Num. We don't really care too much about the children. But the grandchildren are very, very precious to us, the unborn, the unseen. And I think that's something that our generation has to be relatively willing to make a sacrifice for. I think, you know, Ghana is relatively expensive. You know, when you speak to people that have traversed Africa, they always say Ghana feels a little bit more lumpy than places like Nigeria or some of the other smaller countries. But it's somewhere that there's obviously a lot of potential. And I think people just need to be shrewd. You know, the days of taking kamikaze moves and picking up and just running and coming into Ghana, a lot of people, like have been mentioned here, they come to Ghana, they end up getting buried because they're not prepared. You can't prepare for everything, but you have to be a bit sensible. You know, you just can't make certain moves that the odds don't appear to on your favor. So I definitely think for people that are coming in the first time that have got the calling, if it is a calling, you come with no agenda. You come to explore the country, have fun, do your partying, do all the things that you want to do to relax and enjoy the country. Try and travel if you can, but it's a big place. You can't see it all in 2 weeks. And then you plan to come for a second time. And I think if you're an adult, you come and do adult stuff, which is to look around and explore opportunities, whether it be business or relationships, and be very, very prepared to, unfortunately, sometimes lose a bit of money. Because, you know, when we come to Ghana, so often people see us like cannon fodder. We're there to you know, if they could, some of our people take our trousers off us, including family members. So there is a loss that has to be incurred first before you wisen up and learn. And I think also for my brothers that have family, I hope that, you know, our wives will be prepared to let our brothers also foray into Ghana on their own, so they have space and latitudes to explore and work, because you can't do certain moves if you've got children around you. You have to be able to have that flexibility to work and to explore. And I think that's very, very important. You need that freedom to put the hours in, because it's somewhere as an immigrant, you know, you have to put the hours in to find out what's there for you and your family. So, but there's a lot of hope in Ghana. It's a beautiful place.
Definitely, definitely. We have a comment here from Noel Brown where he says, he's so right. The West have most people that want to leave the West locked in. Car notes, high rent, house note, food, etc. People are locked up in the US to pay bills. And then we have another person who says many retired diasporans can afford to relocate to Africa because they have a monthly income. I have heard that, particularly some of the African Americans who maybe they worked with the military and they have a good retirement and they're able to live comfortably in Ghana. That works for some people. Francis says most of the people who intend to stay but eventually leave do not advise people to go to Ghana due to the mismanagement by the leadership. There's a lot of time. I'm not sure if when you say leadership, if you're referring to like the government, you're referring to the presidency. And a lot of times people will talk about the government being the problem with a lot of issues. Yes, the government's responsible for a lot, but I also believe that the people are also responsible for a lot of things that get done. I'm going to go to you, Kwame, to share what your thoughts are on as far as the people being part of the solutions in Ghana to make Ghana go forward.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the big things is, like I mentioned at the beginning, the Ubuntu prices. So unfortunately, most of our people on the ground will see those of our people coming from outside as being like, hey, Obruni, why should I dance to Osaka? And so what they'll do is that if a piece of yam is about 10 cedis, they'll see someone from Diaspora coming and they'll charge that same yam 30 Ghana cedis. And you're not doing yourself or the Diaspora a favor, because the Diaspora will think about, oh, that's the price, when it isn't. Same, for example, if you're getting a taxi from, let's say, from Circle to, let's say, Abekan, it's about 15 Ghana cedis. But we charge the Diaspora double that. Then it's not going to make them kind of feel comfortable and assimilate more. And that's why I also said at the beginning that it's important for the Diaspora to learn at least one of the languages, because that's what, in the way that people used to rip you off. So if you don't speak Chi or Ga or Ewe, then unfortunately the local people are going to rip you off. So, but if you can speak Ga or Chi or Ewe and you can haggle with them, say no, Debbie, wait, say, then they'll begin to appreciate the fact that you can sort of have a conversation with them and know your rights, what your rights are. So if you're able to haggle with our people, then it makes life more comfortable. So I think our people are to blame sometimes, but also we from the Diaspora also needs to like be smart and play by the rules of the game, or the rules of engagement, and know how to play by the rules.
I agree with Kwame. I think languages are, some people take to it like duck to water. Other people, they struggle to pick up languages. It obviously takes time. I think the issue of leadership, a lot of people complain about the government. I think that I always look at it like, what can we do for the country? We have a lawyer running the country, and I never speak ill of my president. Like, I don't wash my dirty linen outside. I think it's clear what's happening in the country, good and bad. I think his legacy will be this conversation. At the end of the day, on his watch, many people have felt inspired to talk and think about Africa and dream about Africa. And I think at the end, if that was only his only legacy, then for those of us that consider ourselves diasporans, I don't personally, but for those of us that consider ourselves diasporans, I think that's enough for us. It's like his foreign policy, with the diasporan community, that on his watch we felt inspired. I think the attitude of our brothers and sisters that are born and raised in Ghana, this is an education piece. Ghanaians are obsessed about schooling. We love to go to school, and then we clock when we finish school, there's no jobs. But the matter that Kwame is talking about, it takes, you know, an evening session with the president for him to speak to the people and remind them or advise them or educate them as to how maybe they can interact with their cousins, us, when we come to the country, and maybe why it's not really nice to cheat people or charge people double. You know, it's counterproductive long term. And I think that if we had leaders that were expressing that to the nation on a regular basis, I think a certain percentage of the nation would wake up and change. You know, let's talk about our timekeeping. You know, we're losing trillions of hours in the nation and across the continent because people simply refuse to look at the time and respect time, the one commodity that we can't get back. You know, we talk about the economy. If you know you've got a meeting at 10 and you
Preach, Kwabena.
you know that it's an hour away, but you think it's okay to leave home at 10:15, you know, you are doing yourself and you're doing a disservice to the nation, because those hours you can't get back. And these things, you know, can be taught, and they can be, you know, they can be put to people for people to understand why, you know, these things have a detrimental impact on the economy and on people, because you don't get back time. So I pray, you know, Stacey mentioned about prayer. Prayer is very important. I'm not a prayer warrior. I'm not a Christian, but I use prayer, you know, to command the things in this world that are important, you know. And, you know, I pray that we will have leaders, and I consider all of us here leaders, and the people watching this session as leaders. I pray that all of us will be able to speak to people and explain to them these sort of nuances and the cost it has on ourselves and the country. You know, my staff, you know, I'm constantly mentoring them and educating them and explaining to them the consequences of them acting in a certain way, which doesn't make sense on any global standard. And timekeeping is one of them. Charging people a fair price that's of value. You know, these things can be explained to people, but you need orators, you know, and our president is an amazing orator. But you know, I would hope that, you know, it wouldn't just be a common cold that will encourage him to come and speak to the nation every couple of weeks. I hope he can come and speak to us once in a while about other matters that are more pressing than a cold, you know, i.e. COVID.
I do have a question to pose for all the viewers and us on this panel. And Ivy, thank you so much for even allowing us the space to have this conversation. I think it's much needed and long overdue. Do you guys feel that all Ghanaians should have the opportunity to travel to the Western world to get a better sense of, as you said, Kwabena, time efficiency, learning how to do business properly across the board? Because what I've seen is you have the Lebanese, the Chinese, the Indians, Pakistanis, these people set up businesses and they will never charge you more. Their price is their price across the board. And that reminds me back home in New York. Like, they're not going to say, okay, you know, I'm going to charge a brony prices versus this. The price is the price, period. Either you can afford it or not. Do you think that Ghanaians should go abroad to learn these things, or it's just a mindset that can be dealt with here over time and they don't have to leave?
Kwame, do you want to go first, or Ivy?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you see, the thing with a lot of
I think that when it comes to info, I think when it go ahead.
No, go ahead, Ivy.
I think we've got a slow connection.
I was going to say, I think that the informal market system that you're yeah, I think I got a slow connection.
It's all good, sis. Go for it.
Well, we can hear you perfectly.
Okay, you go ahead. I'm going to try to figure out my connection. Go ahead.
Okay, so
oh, you can hear me. Okay. So I was going to say, I'll let you go.
All right, so I think one of the things that we need to understand is that in Ghana, there isn't like price regulations, you know, in terms of like you say, of how the Indians and Asians are going to do business. Same as like, you know, in the West, in the UK or the US or Canada, there's price regulations. So everybody that does business has to abide by those price regulations. In Ghana, particularly in the informal sector, there isn't that stringent price measures. So you wake up today, a price of yam is 10 cedi a tuma. You wake up on Friday, it's 50 cedis a tuma, you know, and you can't explain the difference, but it's hard if people have conditioned themselves to do business. So if we are able to get a price regulatory authority in place that can regulate the price of goods and services. I think that could answer the thing that you're talking about. Secondly, I do believe that it's important for Ghanaians, generally speaking, to travel outside the country, to look at other ways of being, other ways of
Mhm.
doing, like I say, because a lot of our people in Ghana are not exposed to certain things. If they were exposed to certain things, I think that Ghana as it is would be much, much better off than what it is today. So I think it's important for our people born and bred in Ghana to get that exposure of different communities, different way of doing things, and different environments. Yeah, I think that could also help their mindset generally, but also help the country as well.
Stacey, I personally think that the Asian and the white man. I don't
I
believe in.
think that one of the things.
Sorry, either you go for it. Either you go for it.
I was going to say that I think that there's a way that we can teach right here in Ghana without people having to travel, because it all is about training. And if there's not being trained, then it's going to be a problem for their whole life. So what Kwabena said about losing time and losing money, I read that Ghana loses over $250 million in potential revenue in business because of people being late. Now, there is one particular guy who his name is Ibo White. He has clothes that Ibo White plays are always on time. If you get there and the show time is 4 and you got there at 10 after 4, you've missed half the show because they're not letting you in the door until halftime, until the break halfway through the show. So you've paid your 80 cities for your ticket, but now you've missed one person in the audience, 100 people in the audience, 5 people in the audience. He doesn't care. The show is at 4. The show is starting at 4, and he's trained his audience over the years. I think he's been doing it more than a decade. I don't know the exact amount of time, but I know it's more than a decade that people know it's on time. Now, time you will push yourself to be there on time. Also, I think that businesses need to start showing people early on that time is money. When I was a teenager, I worked at McDonald's, and you had to punch a clock. If you were 5 minutes late, they deducted 15 minutes from your pay. If you were at a young age, that time is money and you've got to be on time. So when you learn that process through your life, you have it ingrained, the value of time. But if you've just lived in an environment where, I'm late, oh, it's okay, oh, and oh, it's okay, then it's like trying to change that is almost impossible. Once you're an adult and you're set in your ways, it's hard for people to change. So I think starting young, teaching people the value of time and how you need to be on time to get work done. I worked on a production where I was told to be on set for 7 a.m. until like 9. And by time 9, we've lost 2 hours. And then later in the day when the sun is setting, now they're like, hurry up, we're losing light. And it's like, well, we started 2 hours late. We wouldn't be losing light if we started on time in the morning. So I think we don't necessarily conscious about teaching people so that they do learn and not relying on having to leave. Also, the world is designed to not let Africans travel. Look how hard it is for Africans to get visas to leave the country. Look how hard and expensive it is for them. Most of them get rejected. So the idea. Okay, Kwabena, go ahead.
I think I think travel is great for everybody. If you have the money, you have the time to travel the world and to explore the world and to meet people from different cultures, backgrounds, religions. I think that's something, a desire that everybody should have. I agree with you. I think for the African in Africa with a Ghanaian passport, an African passport, it's pretty difficult because ultimately, the visa system is not really set up for us. But I don't think you can teach honesty. I think you can encourage it. We talk about the other business practices of other races in the world. They are the most dishonest people in the world. The European governments and the Western governments are the most corrupt governments in the world. They just do it with a suit and tie. We're no more corrupt than them per se. It's just that they have systems to collect tax from people, and they use the tax revenue as best they can to make sure the country's developed. Here, we don't have tax revenues. When we do collect it, maybe people are putting it where they shouldn't be putting it. So we don't see the impact of people working and paying tax. But let me be clear here. I don't think the African is any more dishonest than some of the most dishonest people we see and we're trying to run away from. In business, it is morally, wrong to cheat somebody, to overcharge somebody because you can. And that should be the only reason, that should be the justification for leaders to explain to the nation that if you cheat somebody and you charge someone 3 times the price, you are a scumbag of monumental proportion, and what you've done is wrong. And I think that if people explain that in very blunt terms, eventually, even if it's 30% of people after they've been told 2 or 3 times that if you're doing this, it's a scummy move, I think a percentage of people will accept, the guy's probably right. My leader's speaking to me, he's telling me that I charged Ivy 10 cedis and I charged Stacey 40 cedis. That is wrong. I've got children I want to bring up in the world as honest people. If I keep doing that for this thing called money that nobody takes with them to the grave, I think that there'll be a percentage of people that their mindset and their heart opens up, and maybe even if they don't charge 4 times, maybe they'll charge double instead of 4, which is progress for us. So again, it comes down to the explanation of these things. And I think that leaders are there not to control everybody's life, but there to also encourage people to be the best version of themselves. Traveling opens your eyes. I've been lucky. I've been able to travel the world. And, in traveling the world, I realized that at the end, to be honest, people and places are more or less like the same. It's not that deep. I've got born and raised in London. There's advantages here, but so many of us are trying to run to Ghana in a place where we say is not developed. It's not as I suppose futuristic as what we have here, or modernized as what we have here in the West. So I think that in business you have to do the right thing, and that means being honest. And if you're not honest in business, it's no good. It goes back to the days, biblical times, when we used to have weights. Instead of money, there was weights to work out something of value. It's illegal to have false weights. If you manipulate your weights to be a weight that it's not, it's wrong. You can be imprisoned and even executed for that sort of stuff in the days of antiquity. So in business, you have to do the right thing, and you have to charge appropriately for your service or your products. And if you don't, it's not good. It's not good at all. So that's my view. You can put, we had the Vice President of America coming every week. We took out these school children to come and greet like the Antichrist in our nation. But at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with the president closing schools and telling 10,000 kids to come to Black Star Square so he can speak to his nephews and nieces about this sort of stuff. Half of them will be changed overnight. So this is a matter of leadership and guidance. We have uncles and aunties in the way. So we have to educate the people and stop sticking them in schools to learn things that they're not of no use to them. That's my view.
Hayford, Web Nation Africa, we keep losing you.
I've been on the internet roller coaster for the past 15 minutes. I missed most of it, but I'm back.
I understand. What are your thoughts? I don't know if you caught any of the conversation, but your thoughts on what we've been discussing. He said none. Well, the question was if everybody in Ghana, okay, I'm saying travel so that they can see how things are in the world, so they can learn and come back. Do you think that that's something that should be the case? I said that I don't think people need to travel, but we can train them right here because Ghanaians can't. I mean, the world is designed for Africans not to be able to travel. Everybody's getting rejected all the time with their visas. What are your thoughts? Do you think people?
the way we say it has to be very calculated, because most of the time we say it almost like forcing them to bend to our rules. But we just have to make them understand the disadvantages that comes after you cheat me in business. Example, I trust you with $100,000, and you promised me a return ROI of probably 140,000, and we've done business. And then the day came where you had to pay me my returns, and you gave me 120,000, and then you told me 20,000 is in debt or whatsoever. Now, when that prolongs, I would probably not do business with you. Let's say I intended to spend 1 million. With that attitude, I can't trust you with any of my investments or anything like that. Then you lose money more than you would have cheated $20,000. Maybe you could have made more. So we have to find a way that we can explain this detail for them to understand that commitment and being loyal to your customers and your clients gives you more benefits and advantages than cheating them. And show them proof, and make them understand that, listen, together with this trust, we can go even further than disappointing each other. I think that would go a very long.
You know what, Hayford? To your point, I sometimes wonder to myself, is it that some people here in Ghana feel like, okay, I have to live day to day, so let me maximize today, and maybe they don't think about tomorrow. So they try to get the best of what they can today.
Let's not underestimate the underprivileged and the poverty here in Ghana. Some people are just looking at it as a survival mechanism, where they have to, take one thing here and there just to be able to feed their family. And I had a conversation with one friend of mine who is looking to do great here with a snail farm, and he said to me, like, listen, if we are able to pay them very, very well, and then make them feel like they're part of the work and the business we are doing, they might probably not, take away you teach you or do all these few things, talking about businesses and employment, than to always try to, okay, minimum wage is 500 cities and provide 500 cities. And then you realize later on that, listen, my employees are tipping here and there. Why not? 400 cities, knowing very well that you as a diasporan spend 700 cities a week on fuel, and then having to pay 400 cities to a Ghanaian. How do you intend to let a person survive? So then we we create that problem, instead of working with them to find a way to, what I'm saying, make their life way easier than it was before we came here. So I think that would help, to really be, understand, listen, know where your employees live, know where the houses, the conditions they live in, and then watch how much you give them and see if it will really go far. Some people have like 5 kids and they live somewhere, very, it doesn't look nice. It looks, very, but they are struggling. And you pay somebody like that 400 cities and it's like, okay, my business is safe. You'll be surprised.
I totally agree. I think we don't pay our staff well. I feel like too often I see business owners in Ghana, some are diasporan, some are in Ghana born and raised. The whole thing is, let me get away with paying someone the least amount of money possible, even if what I'm paying that individual doesn't make any logical sense. So we have to remunerate people well. Obviously there's clearly an advantage of operating in Africa. You want to take advantage to a reasonable account of that, the economy of scale, or being able to employ people for essentially less than you would in the West, because that is our advantage in business. Some of these things are in place. We're not going to change them. We also have to take reasonable advantage of them. But it doesn't mean that you should abjectly cheat someone or pay someone a wage where you could pay more just to feel like you're being a businessman. I think it's wrong. The wages I hear people being paid, I think it's obscene at the end of the day. And then the other thing, what Stacey mentioned about, just the poverty, you're right. We can't discount. Africa is, a very, very rich place, wealthy, very wealthy, but there is poverty there. So many people are suffering. There's not an economy which produces jobs. It really relies on private investors to come in and hopefully build businesses to employ people. And I think that it's a mix of paying well and also explaining to people that, when you have an opportunity in life, I'm not saying that we're coming as angels. We're not there to save Africa. Actually, Africa's saving us. Now, one of my clients said that recently on a YouTube that we did, and I felt that was the perfect way to describe it. But ultimately, you know, you're there to try and help, and you're there to try and work with people, and you're there to take the opportunity when it presents itself. And, you know, and I tell the youngers around me that I feel like in life, you probably get 3 or 4 good opportunities every decade. You're not going to any more than that. You know, it could be a partner, like a boyfriend or girlfriend. It could be a job. It could be a business. It could be something. But if you lose those opportunities, if you lose 3 out of 4, those are the people that end up unsuccessful in life. So I encourage the people that I bring in to grab the opportunity that I think I'm presenting them, and for them to see it for what it is, a good opportunity, and maximize it, respect it, honor it, cherish it, and build, you know, rather than just eating for today. You know, understand that life doesn't work, you know, life doesn't put anything on the plate for you every single day. You know, it comes around pretty rare, but there's a very big life-changing opportunity, and people need to identify that. And again, that concept and that notion can be communicated to people. You know, people can be educated or reminded that life works like that. And I think if we do that a lot more, especially with our young adults, you know, the children need to be children and do children-like things. But the young adults are adults, and, you know, they're starting their life. And some of us on this screen, you know, we've seen a little bit more. We can remind them and try and encourage them to take advantage of the opportunities when they come around, because they're few and far between.
Kwabena, that was well said. I want to expound just a tiny bit on what you touched on about being able to see like the opportunities. I always teach my 3 kids, especially Samara, in one of our favorite books in the household, from The Alchemist. It says in there, every blessing ignored becomes a curse. So my question becomes, are people having the discernment to see that blessings come in sometimes the smallest of ways? And I think some people are always looking for like the grandiose thing to say, okay, this is a big blessing, let me hop on the opportunity. Sometimes it's the tiniest little things we overlook.
It's small things, and you're quite right. And I think some people are better at spotting opportunities than others. You know, every human spirit has a different spiritual energy to, because these are what we're talking about is seen so often. So some people are able to identify it quicker than others. In some cases, like in your case as a parent, you're trying to sort of not manipulate, but you're trying to guide. And, you know, you're reading, you know, books like The Alchemist with your kids. You know, these are deep pieces of text to try and show them these things. But it's a little bit of, you know, sometimes you need a bit of luck as well. And, you know, I'm going to go back to the thing about prayer. You know, I don't think Ghana's a normal country. Personally, I ask myself, am I biased because I'm Ghanaian? But I'm not, because I'm pretty well read on this matter. You know, Ghana is the center of the world. The most learned people about our spirituality will tell you that, you know, all the gods reside in Ghana. It's a place in the world where, you know, even our adversaries have identified that the landmass of Ghana, there's something very special there. So, you know, because we're not Christians and Muslims, you know, we have our way of tapping into the soil, into the spiritual energy of this landmass, which sits at the center of the earth, and all the ley lines pass through. And I think the inspiration often is found in prayer. You know, to pray the way we've always prayed for thousands of years, and to call the unseen and the people that have passed, you know, our ancestors, and to ask them for guidance and inspiration, I think is a huge, huge, huge benefit. I know in the business that I do, which is more than a business for me, it's a calling, land, this thing that belongs to God. There is no way in hell I could have done this business to the scale that we've done it without, you know, that tapping in to the spiritual of the land. It's just, we know it, you know, the way everything has happened. If we weren't praying the way that we were meant to pray, the way that our forefathers prayed, to bring that energy around us to guide us, it would have been impossible. So I think it's important not to be prayer warriors, but to understand what the hell is going on in Ghana. It's not a normal place at all by any means. And that is why, you know, the gravity is pulling everybody to Ghana, and not to Togo, not to Cote d'Ivoire, not to Nigeria, not to Jamaica, not to Tanzania, not to Rwanda. Everyone is getting pulled to Ghana, and there's a reason for it. So I think reasonable prayer and libation in particular is a key factor to me to open up your eye to see what the opportunity is and executing on it.
I'm going to go to the comments here. We had Francis said, realistically, if Ghana have half of Rwandan business environment, Ghana will thrive so well, but sadly it doesn't. And then we have somebody here, Noel, who says, how can Africa define a corrupt leader or leadership when the African people do protest to change the status quo? So we have some good comments here. And then another one, Brashaka says, shorterism is a big downfall of Ghanaians. Catch what you can today. We know not what tomorrow will bring in spite of all the church going and religious posing.
Mm.
And then Noel Brown says, I give my workers performance monthly bonuses. I give them rewards for doing the right things. If you mess up, you're done. Some pretty
I think
good comments
Noel's thing
here.
is a good incentive. It's straightforward and a great incentive to how you should work with your employees. I appreciate that.
I agree. Definitely, I think more businesses need to do it in Ghana. Not enough businesses do it because I hear a lot of workers say they don't have any kind of incentive. So it's definitely something that can be done. And then we have Truth here, who a few minutes ago said Japanese children are taught respect and integrity at a young age. That's one of the reasons Japan is so successful. What do you think about that? Do you think that Ghana lacks this in the system and it's something that Ghana can work on?
School wise, I would like to touch on that because my kids are under, they go to school here. So they're taught, here's the craziest part, they're taught more respect here than they were in the States. And a lot of Ghanaians, I'm teaching them that now, that they have this idea that the Western world for school is like 20 times better. And I'm like, no, it's actually more superior here. So I think the kids are being taught that here. But I also ponder if the struggles of life in Ghana kind of like zap that from them. And, it's not materialized the way it should, if that makes sense to you guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
it does. It does. Ghana is a very respectful country. Our children are generally very respectful. That's why so many of us want to be in Ghana with our kids. The Western world, propagates disrespect, even of yourself. People disrespect themselves on a daily basis. So Ghanaians are very respectful, especially the young people. I think integrity is, again, I don't know if they can be taught, they can be encouraged. Do we have integrity in Ghana? No. Yes. I'm not going to say no. I think it would be uncouth for me to say no, but I think it could be worked on. But I think we respect the things we shouldn't, sometimes. And I think that's the problem. We're all brought up to respect our elders as a given. But I'm not going to I'm not going to encourage my children to respect any elder that is unrespectable. We use this word honorable. Everywhere you go, every minister.
Oh, yeah.
So-and-so. What have you done, like categorically and clearly and definitively, to define yourself as honorable? It should be the people that define you as honorable, not a title. So I think we're very respectful, sometimes too much. And I think we just need to be more realistic, a little bit more aggressive, and I think definitely more nationalistic. That's what we need. The children need to be nationalists. They need to be proud to be Africans first. They need to see themselves as part of this sort of major sort of cog or chain to, propagate the renaissance of Ghana. That should be something that is forefront in their mind. Some of the, they're vilified now, but some of the so-called regimes or, governments of the years gone by, where the leaders made sure that the children essentially were indoctrinated. That is what Ghana needs. That's what Africa needs. We need a period of indoctrination, positive indoctrination, hopefully good things, hard work, honesty, integrity, truth, and desire, and a clear-cut explanation to the nation, including the adults, because so many adults around the world, not just in Ghana, like sheep, they're moving like children anyway, so they need a re-education themselves. So re-education and the re-indoctrination as to our position in the world, which is at the bottom. We are at the bottom. So what do we do to take steps to try and increase and elevate our status in our generation? Because we can't do it all. We are essentially like a sacrificial generation as far as I'm concerned. And, there is a renaissance of Africa happening. I think I'm very proud to exist in this phase. We're at a very, very critical phase of global existence. Even the white man is having some major challenges they're trying to address. We talk about the Japanese. The Japanese don't produce any children. It's a society full of old people. The country is dying, literally. They've got a serious issue there. There's a fertility decline in the West, which they don't even know how to address. Some of these things they're afflicted with, we don't have those problems. So, I think we need to be very, very realistic and live in reality And again, it does come down to leadership, but we're all leaders. You know, we're all
And
leaders.
pride too, like you said, having that national pride about yourselves. I wish a lot of Ghanaians knew the story of the West a little more.
Yeah.
I want to say this before I talk too much. Growing up in what you guys would call primary and JHS and SHS in the States, I sat with a lot of Nigerians and Ghanaians, and they were very superior academically. And I wish Ghanaians knew that. Like when we sat with them in the West, they were some of the top tier classmates I had. And they went off to become very successful doctors and lawyers. The only thing I also wish was that once they reached that level of success, they would come back to their native lands and give back. But you usually see like a drain. It's like, okay, I've made it. I'm not going back. I wish that didn't happen.
You can't blame these guys sometimes, Stacey. I also ponder that, you know, someone has studied really hard. In some cases, they've got scholarships. In some cases, their parents have sacrificed so much for them to leave the country and go to a great university, if that's what they consider a great university in the West. They've paid or taken student loans. They finish and graduate, and they're saddled with a bill, and they've got two roads to take. One where they earn pounds and dollars, which converts 10, 15 times into cedis. And one is to go home and graft, you know, as a civil servant and wonder whether you're going to get paid or not. And then judge these individuals as if they're doing something wrong. You know, the first responsibility of a man is to his family, then to his community, and then ultimately to his nation. And I think those people find themselves in a really, really difficult position, which again can be somewhat addressed by leadership. You know, I don't see it. I don't understand why it's so difficult to have a program which encourages people, pays people relatively well with some support, maybe for the first 3 to 5 years, to come home and contribute, you know, whether it's, you know, subsidized housing, whether it's care with the help with the kids. I'm not saying for taking any more advantage over people that are in the country already or people that have studied in the country. But if there's certain skills that we need and that we're crying out for, do you know, I don't understand what's so complicated about building, I don't know, 100 decent 2-bedroom apartments and saying, do you know what, you doctors that qualified in States this year, that are proud Africans, come home, we're going to pay you $50,000 a year for 3 years to set up yourself. You know, we're going to give you a bit of home help. We're going to subsidize, you know, childcare, whatever, just to think creatively to encourage people to come home and to stay home. So it's very, very difficult, you know, to come home and people, you know, people are in studying hard in Ghana and they finish university, they can't get jobs. I'm saying schooling, modern schooling is actually becoming a criminal activity.
Wow.
It's becoming a criminal activity to send your children to school to learn about Mercury, Pluto, and Saturn. You know, when we can't even put a man in space. You're actually wasting the children's time. And then when you tell the child or the 15-year-old to meet you at 8 o'clock in the morning, and he's coming at 9 o'clock, you know, what are we doing? You know, there are skills that are needed in the country. We should be essentially forcing people to learn the skills that are required and to have, you know, to be able to facilitate for them to stay in Ghana should they want. And I think, you know, there needs to that's why I'm not a big fan of democracy. You know, it's like you have the choice to make the wrong choice. I think there should be a bit of a balance. You know, the country needs X over the next 20 years. So we're going to try and maneuver and manipulate that solution, you know, using our youth, using our oratory ability to explain to people why this might work and encouraging people to get behind the program that successive governments have to stick to. So it's very, very difficult, very, very hard. You know, diasporans come back to Ghana with a very sort of idealistic view of what Ghana is going to be. Ivy, you know better than me. You know, you work very closely with the Diasporan Committee or Board or whatever they're called, the Office of Diasporans. I don't actually know what they do, with all due respect. Do you know, Ghanaians, do you know, abroad, clearly Ghanaians, Ghanaian surnames. They look Ghanaian, look proper Asante, proper Ghana. They come home and they're like, you know, they're struggling to get passports. Something that can be done in a day. You know, it's like we're making life difficult for people to come home and acclimatize. You know, talk about citizenship. You know, we're giving citizenship to like singers and dancers. You know, these are what we in the old days called them the court jesters. You know, they would come and, you know, immediately they get taken to Jubilee House to meet the, you know, our leader, you know, within seconds. You know, we're setting ourselves up with really bad precedents. Meanwhile, there's doctors born in Ghana, maybe educated abroad, that have come back building hospitals to save lives. They can't get close to the government. They can't get close to the president to take an award. You know, but Meek Mill comes in, bang, he's in the Jubilee House recording a hip hop. We are wrong. We're very wrong, and we need to change.
We don't have audio.
I think she may be on mute. I don't know.
I was trying to, I thought I unmuted, but my screen froze when I thought I hit mute. I mean, unmute. So I was saying that I just wanted to clarify for the people watching. He mentioned that I work with Diaspora.
Sorry.
I wanted to make sure that people know I work for Ghana Tourism Authority under the Beyond the Return, formerly Year of Return office. The Office of Diaspora Affairs is inside the Jubilee House, so it's a separate office from Beyond the Return. Sometimes we do a lot of things in partnership and some things, but the Diaspora Affairs office is responsible for some of the things that he was talking about, like some of the people who've come into Jubilee House to have meetings. That's through the Diaspora Affairs office. Beyond the Return doesn't have any control over giving access to people
Sorry,
in that office. No, I just want to make sure, because a lot of people think that it's the same office.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure people watching that know that the Beyond the Return and Year of Return operates under Ghana Tourism Authority, and the Diaspora Affairs Office operates inside of the Jubilee House. So it's actually two separate offices, because sometimes people think I work for the deputy director and the director of Diaspora Affairs, but I work for the CEO of Ghana Tourism Authority. So I just want to make sure people know.
I think you work for Ghana, Ivy, and I think
yes, you're right. I work for Ghana.
You know, you should be hosted, and there should be a dinner in your honor for your service to your race.
That's
an absolutely logical thing, because, you know, I think when I first met you 4 years ago now, I described you as Miss Year of Return.
Yes.
And, you know, you come on these shows and you have your YouTube and you're on Instagram, and I hope you do realize that this single spirit called Ivy Prosper is single-handedly responsible for encouraging and giving light and hope to thousands of people. I've met quite a few people that said they basically came to Ghana because of you. And at the end of the day, these individuals have come, they've invested emotionally, they've invested financially, they've created jobs, they've saved lives, they've loved people, they've cared for people because of people like you. So, you know, you personally are, and I don't brown tongue anybody. What I'm saying is the truth. You're like a hero.
Thank you.
I mean, look at my return. Yeah. So Ivy, please. I hope you really take that in. I hope you really soak that in and you understand the work that you've done. Like, I really hope you do.
Thank you. Yes, because I have been promoting Ghana even before I started working with Ghana Tourism Authority. I had been promoting Ghana already. It's largely why I even got the job that I'm doing right now, because I was already online. I was already promoting the country. I was already, the book I wrote about moving to Ghana, the first edition was published before the Year of Return. It was published in 2018. So it was before all of the hoopla and the hype and everything when I published that book, because 2017, people were always asking me about Ghana. 2016, people asked me about Ghana. So I wrote the book and I published it in 2018. January 2018 is when I published the first edition. So yes, thank you so much, Kwabena. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. He's like a real one, you know, he's a real one. He's definitely someone who is making a big, there's a lot of people like him who are making a big impact that people don't know about. There's people that I've wanted to talk to on my YouTube channel because I think they're doing some great things, but there are people who want to move in silence. There's a lot of people doing things, but they want to move in silence. And there's nothing wrong with that. Not everybody wants the limelight.
Absolutely.
But I just want people to know that there are a lot of people who are on the ground and are doing some really amazing things, but they choose not to be in the public eye, but they're doing some really phenomenal things to impact the community. And I'm saying this too because there's Ghanaians who think that there's diasporans not doing anything but partying. But I want them to know there are people doing stuff. You know, there's a woman I spoke to who's doing some things in Kumasi. And when we were chatting, I was like, wow, she's doing some really great work for like young women, doing some great things that people don't really know about, you know? And
Her God knows. Her
yeah,
God
yeah.
knows. That she helped knows.
Yeah, so I want Ghanaians to know that there are people from the diaspora doing great things. They're just not in the public eye. That's the thing. So, so I just wanted to make that known.
I just want to add something, guys, before I hop off. I don't usually do this. I think this is the first ever YouTube live I've done. You know,
Same here.
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
you're like little virgins to this thing. I don't do them often. I think I wanted to say a word to the diasporans watching that haven't been to Ghana yet. Boy, what do I say about Ghana? Ghana's fucking awesome. It's a simple. Ghana's some wicked country. It's very, very lovely in Ghana. It's very safe. The weather's incredible. The food's beautiful. The people are special. It's very safe. There's loads of hope here, but there's a lot of hard work to be done here. And I think I mentioned when I was putting my comments in before I joined, you know, there is a trajectory to this thing. You know, Ivy really has cemented this thing, this phrase of year of return. I personally don't believe in it. And I think we should be talking about the decade of return.
Yes,
2019
definitely.
to 2029, you know, this 10-year period where people like some of us that were born and raised outside have been slowly coming in to acclimatize ourselves. Some people have moved full time. Others like myself are going back and forth. And I think it's a 10-year project at the very least.
Yeah,
And
beyond the return is 10 years.
yeah, it's 10 years. And I think that, you know, one of the things that helps is trying to come regular, setting your stall to come maybe at least twice a year. After you've done the partying, which has to be done. I mean, you can't come here and not party a little bit, you know. My eldest son is 25. I'm on his ass about coming to Ghana to party. He has to experience partying in Ghana.
He's 25 already?
Yes, my eldest son is 25.
Okay.
And I'm encouraging him to get to Ghana and enjoy, because soon he won't have that dispensation to enjoy. And I think after you've done that and you've come maybe the second time and you started understanding how, you know, where's Kaswa compared to Tema and where's Abri compared to Cantonment, and you've taken a trip to Kumasi and you've been to Adar and you've been to Cape Coast and you've got a couple of friends and associates, you know, the taxi driver now, someone that you speak to regularly, you worked out that he was generally honest. And then you start thinking about putting down roots here. I think accommodation is a key thing that holds a lot of people back. So I really want to advise people, all these dreams of living in Ridge, Cantonments and Labono, cash, forget it. Accra is very, very overpriced, expensive. Like a lot of us living in major cities in the West, you're going to have to base yourself on the outskirts of the city happily. And I really encourage people to look for uncompleted apartments. You see a lot of these uncompleted buildings. Stop the taxi, get out the car, go and speak to the workers, ask for the landlord's number, take the apartment for cheap, uncompleted, fix it up your goddamn self, give the guy 2, 3, 4, 5 years rent in advance because it's very cheap. And you now have a very, very low cost base to come into the country and operate. If you're coming here and you think you're going to drop a house within 2 years, or buy an apartment in Signature that no one's going to rent off you, you know, and you're going to have to subsidize the mortgage yourself. These things are unrealistic. You need to get a relatively low cost base. And so often that means placing yourself on the halo of Accra and humbling yourself. You know, you then look at investing, or let me say risking a certain amount of money in a business that you want to do. This business doesn't have to work, but you have to try. You know, businesses take at least 3 years to get off the ground. So you need to have 3 years worth of effort. And in that effort, you need to make sure you're using technology to assist you with the oversight of the business. Because if you're not in Ghana full time and you can't control the money, you know, if you're relying on people here to control the money, you're going to get done. People are going to take money off you. So you have to make sure.
Peru.
Yeah, you have to pick a business where you control the money and you use technology to have oversight of that money, and you be prepared to lose the money. If you're not prepared to lose money here, that loss is what I call your university fees. If any one of us is going to do a master's now, you're going to pay $2, $3, $5, $10,000 for masters. The same applies to Ghana. And when you come here, in my opinion, you have to accept you're an immigrant. We're immigrants in Ghana, nothing more, nothing less. We might look like Ghanaians or Africans or black people, but you know, just like our parents left Ghana and came to Europe or America, we are technically immigrants here, and you will live an immigrant life until you get yourself on that platform to be able to live a life where you've acclimatized with the society and the community. So there is some gradual steps that most people probably have to undertake, and even then you can't plan for everything, but your accommodation is important to make sure you've got that low cost base. So when you're out of the country, your rent is nothing. If you don't do that, you struggle.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on. I know you got to jump off. So I just want to say thank you to Kwabena for joining. You've been a really, really phenomenal contribution to this conversation. We are going to wrap up. It's almost 11 o'clock Ghana time. So we are going to wrap up shortly. So I do know you have to jump off. Thank you so much.
Blessings, guys.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So so it's almost 11 o'clock Ghana time. I can't believe I've been on this live almost 3 hours. It's 2 hours and 45 minutes. Me and Hafer have been on here all this time, and then we've had Kwame and Stacy join us, and then Kwabena, who's just hopped off. Kwame, do you have any final thoughts to say before we log off? Actually, before I get you to say final thoughts, I'm just going to quickly read through a few comments, and then I'll get you to say some final thoughts. So Lady Ivy says, I'm an academic and I've offered my services for free. I might add to some universities in Ghana to supervise graduate students. In all instances, I have been ignored. Oh, that's unfortunate that you've been ignored. You might have to find another platform. That's one of the challenges in Ghana. Sometimes you have great ideas and things you want to do, and people just don't see what you're trying to do. Noel Brown says, I'm in the process of setting an employee's retirement saving for my workers. This is needed. I'm a trained mechanical engineer. I'm training my staff what learned in the West for free. Wonderful. Thank you so much for your contribution. Truth says it's very difficult and expensive to fly to Ghana compared to other African countries like Kenya and South Africa. That is true. Kenya and South Africa have an infrastructure of tourism that they've had for decades. And it's largely, they have a large travel and tourism economy, largely because of the safari travel. Like a lot of Europeans and stuff like to come for safaris in Africa, and they usually go to Kenya and South Africa. So those are two places that have those infrastructures in place. Thank you so much. Colin T, with that wrong setup, Kwabena by government, it's all by design. Okay, so he's talking about something Kwabena said earlier with the government. And Menelik Cheney, Ivy, you're my inspiration. Oh, thank you. Your inspiration for my dreams, goal of returning home to the motherland. I would love to have the honor to meet you one day. Oh, thank you so much. That is so kind. Thank you. I appreciate you. And then Noel Brown again says, people are selfish, greedy, disrespectful. The ignorances in Africa are sad. The more I give away, the more I'm receiving from my customers. Okay, so we have so many comments here. I'm not even going to be able to go through them all because I would like to wrap up, and we have less than 5 minutes left. Sarsi says, thank you for having me. Thank you for being on. Really appreciate you, Kwabena. Thank you so much. Lady Ivy says, thank you. Very engaging. Bedina Babe says, Ivy has recent content showing an uncompleted house in Oyibi. Yes, I do. I have my last video is an uncompleted house in Oyibi that is for sale. If you're interested, check it out. Username says, great dialogue today. Thank you all. I learned a lot today. May God preserve you all. Thank you so much. So Kwame, your final thoughts before we wrapped up. And then let me know again the name of your podcast.
Okay, so thank you very much, Harry, for this platform. It's been very enlightening, very great discussion. I think people need to know that Ghana is not a developed country, it's a developing country. And so what you have in the West, you're not going to have the same in Ghana. But Ghana is a very, very great country. It's a safe country. There are many opportunities. What I will ask the Kith and King of a diaspora is that take about 6 months out, come to Ghana, learn the culture, learn the environment. And it's very important that you network, meet people. If you want to be a builder, meet people in that trade. If you want to be in the media, meet people who are open that space. So networking is very, very key in Ghana, because in Ghana, unfortunately, it's not what you know, it's actually who you know. So networking is very, very important in Ghana. Secondly, like my brother Kwabena says, getting somewhere to live is very, very important. Unfortunately, Accra is no-go, particularly those leaf areas, like Borneo, cantonments, they're gone, is full. And if there are empty spaces, the land there is just ridiculous prices. So you're better off finding somewhere outskirts of Accra, like Uyibi, like Oyayifa, like Ibri, which are developing areas, but are much, much cheaper. So, to get your base and, try and get some land there and build a property as well. So that will give like a safe kind of landing to come to Ghana. And then one thing I would land by is please, if you can, learn the language, because many or some of our diasporan brothers and sisters who have left have not assimilated. And one way to assimilate is to try and learn the language, whether it's Tree or Ga or Ewe or Hausa, please learn the language, because believe it or not, that will make your landing in Ghana less bumpy than if you were just insist on speaking English, because not everyone speaks English the way we do, because the English that the average Ghanaian speaks is not the English that we speak here in the West. It's different. So to learn one of the mother tongues will be very, very much helpful in terms of trying to help you assimilate and integrate into the Ghanaian society and fabric. And it's been a fabulous discussion. And my podcast is Ghana Stroke African in Focus podcast. You can find it on many of the podcast platforms like Spotify, like Google. You can just subscribe and follow me on various links there. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. Stacey G, any final things you want to say?
I just want to say thank you. This is my first live. I usually don't do this. I found this to be one of the best conversations ever so far, as many lives as I've hopped on. And thank you for you and Hayford for creating a space like this, for this type of dialogue is needed. I hope there'll be many more to come. I even hope that there'll be a live forum for people to actually go to physically and be able to help make a change in Ghana. It's needed, but we're on a precipice of change, and I think it's a good one.
Yes, it is. It definitely is. And how can people follow you if they want to follow you?
Oh, don't follow me. I'm not an internet person. You can follow my daughter, though. You can follow my daughter, Tamara. Her handle is Samatime, SAMATIME, and the number 12. So Samatime 12. Follow her, and y'all get all the tea from there.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
All right,
and thank you so much. And Hayford, we've been talking here. We've been here. You've been here with me since the beginning.
Yes.
Your final thoughts on our conversation
I'm going
today.
to give you a very unprofessional advice. Okay, I'm not going to give you statistics and all those things. I'm going to tell you that, listen, the way Africa is moving, it is guaranteed that with the new formed intercontinental free trade area, and so a few things Africa is doing in partnership, strengthen our economy. A time will come that diasporans, US dollars and UK might not necessarily go very far anymore here in Ghana or some part of Africa. And now that you can, I think you should just make the necessary due diligence to move down here. First, just touch down, see what's going on, see a niche that you can invest in and move as soon as possible to capitalize on the opportunities that on the continent right now before it's too late. That's what I can say.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. We have one last comment. Keep it simple, keep it real. Gambia, Tanzania, Rwanda is booming, not only Ghana. Yes, that is true. There are many countries in Africa. As was said earlier in our conversation, that there's 54 countries people can choose from when they want to make their return, their journey to come back to the continent. It is very, very important that you choose your country based on where your heart is being led, where you feel like your spirit's being led, where you feel like that's where your feet are being planted, and not just based on what you think is, the trendy place to go. Ghana has become a hotspot. Lots of people know about it now, and people are wanting to make the trip, and it's known as the gateway to Africa. A lot of people are coming here because it's easy, because with the English, a lot of people they're easily drawn to it, and also because it is listed as the second safest country in Africa, so people feel comfortable coming. And also doing business here is a little bit easier than a lot of other African countries, less restrictions and stuff. So those are some of the factors that contribute to people ending up choosing Ghana. But still, you have to choose based on what is best for you. Do your research before you make a decision to move to another country. Make sure that you spend some time in Ghana before you make the decision, and make sure you build a network. Those are some of the things that we've gone through in this conversation today. And I want to thank everybody who has joined this live stream. Web Nation Africa, you can follow him at Web Nation Africa on all platforms. And this has been a really good chat. We've had a live together last week, and now we have one this week again. I'm sure we'll have more to come, having some engaging conversations. I'm sure soon I'll do one with him on his platform, and we can talk again more about all things Ghana, all things Africa, and the diaspora community. So I thank everybody who's been here today. I really appreciate you. And don't forget to share this video with anyone you think may be interested in the topic, and to like this video. And don't forget to also subscribe to the channel for more content about Ghana, about Africa, about the diaspora. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Hayford, I'll talk to you after this show.
All right, guys. Thank you for
Take it
watching.
easy.
Head
Yeah.
to my channel. You know what I'm saying? Go watch my recent video. It's very interesting. And subscribe.
Thank you. Bye, Stacy.
Hello, hello, hello.